I still believe you definitely did a great job at reducing my level of suspicion. I will concede you did decrease my suspicion significantly. My position is that completely dismissing skepticism toward the lone actor explanation is not justified by the evidence currently available.
We're gonna go. Okay, so before we get into individual pieces of evidence tonight, I want to establish something that I think is going to be extremely important for the entire conversation. Okay, I spent a lot of time listening to the theories surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination. To be honest with you guys, mostly Candace Owens and Candace Owens fans, specifically Ian Carroll, Mel, Village Crazy Lady, I think her name is on X, Project Constitution, whatever his name is, etc. That one dude. I've heard different versions of them. Also, not just from them, also Diligent, I think his name is, but I also just recently came across him like a couple days ago. You guys get the point. I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you're on X, you know who these people are. Plenty of other people who have spent months trying to convince their audience that there's something much bigger going on here. And listen, I like conspiracy theories as much as any person, but I want to dive a little deeper into that. So maybe I'll hear something tonight that I've generally never heard before. I'm open to that, but I seriously, to be frank, doubt it, because I think... I seriously doubt that anybody entertaining conspiracy theories, or no, let me rephrase that. I think we should all entertain every piece of information. Anyone who takes them a little beyond relatively seriously, these conspiracy theories, has discovered some complete unique body of evidence that somebody else somehow missed, right? Especially professionals, because for the most part, these theories all seem to operate the exact same way, my opinion. You find something in the investigation that looks weird. You find something investigators could have done better. You find a piece of evidence that isn't completely conclusive. You find something the public hasn't been shown yet. You put all those things next to each other, surround them with questions, and eventually the collection of questions itself starts getting presented as evidence that the official story must be false. And that's where I think we need to be very careful. There is a massive difference between finding something in an investigation that you think is suspicious and providing evidence that the theory of the crime is actually wrong. Those are not the same thing. Investigators can make mistakes without Tyler Robinson being innocent or a patsy or whatever the case might be. Police can fail to collect something they probably should have collected without there being another shooter. Forensic evidence can come back inconclusive without becoming exculpatory. The public can be prevented from seeing certain evidence at this point, right? Because we're not at trial yet. So before trial, without that evidence being hidden from the defense, the judge, or the court. And you can have unanswered questions in a murder investigation without those unanswered questions becoming evidence of a conspiracy, to put it lightly. Those distinctions matter. And there's another part of this, and that I think gets lost because this case has become entertainment for so many people. I'm not saying my opponent necessarily. I actually really don't know much about him other than just the little interactions that we've had. But I just mean generally speaking here. Charlie Kirk was a real person. He was a husband. He was a father. His wife lost her husband, and his children lost their father. Whatever anybody thought about Charlie politically, although I think most of my chat probably loved the guy, turning his murder into an endless game of conspiracies, villains, and weekly bombshells and internet content doesn't honor him. It prolongs the pain for the people who actually loved him. At some point, I think what we're doing becomes more than irresponsible, it becomes cruel. You can even apply that maybe to this episode right here. Now, there's a reason I think that it's important to fight that back, but I'll get into that in a second. We keep reopening the wound for his family while treating Charlie's death like an episode of a television show, and in the process, we disgrace his memory and his legacy. So let's actually look at the evidence. Take the ballistics issue. You probably heard stuff like, they couldn't match the bullets to Tyler Robinson's rifle. I'm just going off of things that I hear a lot from a lot of these Candace Owens fans, etc. That sounds devastating until you actually understand what happened, and which we're going to get into it. This is not an opening statement for me to like lay it all out, okay? The projectile recovered from Charlie Kirk was damaged badly enough that examiners couldn't neither positively identify nor exclude Robinson's rifle. That is what inconclusive means. It does not mean that the bullet came from another gun. It doesn't even mean the rifle probably wasn't the weapon. Conveniently left out of the talking points is that spent cartridge casing that was matched to the recovered rifle. So right away, this is kind of how conspiracy theories work. They take what does fit the narrative and they ignore everything else. So, you strip away the context. And I don't want to go off on more of a ramble, so I'm going to kind of skip some of the other things I'm going to say. We're definitely going to get into it, stuff like, oh, but it was 140 yards away. He must have been an expert, marksman. No. What's the case I'm looking for? The cold bore shot, right? People bring that up. Shooting ability, rifle, let's see. Forensic evidence. We're going to talk about DNA. We're going to talk about all this stuff right here. So overall, the reason I think it's important to actually tackle this is the same reason I debate the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's not necessarily because I want it to be a weekly episode thing, but in reality, the type of person that I am is when I see evil out in the world and there's something that I can do about it. Listen, I don't talk about every single subject in the world, although most people that watch me probably know that, oh, Nick, that guy debates anything. Probably true to an extent, but overall, I will put more focus on things that I find actual evil in the world and doing my part, even at my own safety for that matter, to actually combat that. So with that, I have a lot more to say, but we're going to get into it. So I'm going to end right here because I'm at 5 minutes and 5 minutes and 25 seconds. So I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to let my opponent go because I think that's already more than enough time for an opening statement. So Jason, the floor is yours.
Cool. Yep. And so I have notes. I'm a note guy, so you guys know. And anybody who argues that having notes is somehow cheating or somehow, weakens the argument, that's the most ridiculous, stupid thing I've ever heard. Arguments should be determined or judged based off their merit in a vacuum. Anybody who disagrees with that, I'd love to hear an argument why that's not true. Okay, so I'm just gonna state my position. My position is not that Tyler Robinson was definitely a patsy, and I am not claiming that I can prove the broader conspiracy occurred. My position is that completely dismissing skepticism toward the lone actor explanation is not justified by the evidence currently available. I am evaluating the case under a Bayesian framework because the issue is not absolute proof. The issue is how strongly the available evidence should shift our confidence between explanations, or between competing explanations. The relevant possibilities are Robinson was involved and acted entirely alone, and 2, Robinson was involved, but one or more other people materially participated. There is substantial evidence that Robinson was involved. I concede that immediately. But evidence of involvement and evidence of sole responsibility are not the same thing. And evidence does not necessarily support both conclusions with equal strength. That distinction matters. That's it. That's mine. And yeah, there you go.
That's it? That's all you got? You're good?
Yeah, I shortened it. I told you I shortened it, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure did. You shortened it a lot. This guy, just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, he's like, hey, can I have at least 10 minutes uninterrupted and everything with this? I said, listen, you're really in good faith. I'd say just like try to keep it like 5 give or take minutes and we'll get into the rest. And he comes back to me. He's like, yeah, I shortened it. I didn't know you shortened it that much. Okay. All right. So just make sure.
Substance to the body. So
fair enough. Okay, so long story short, I just want to make sure I got you right. General statement is that you believe that Robinson was involved in some ways, could mean patsy, but you're not claiming that for sure, kind of like how Candace Owens was. You're just claiming that he was involved, but you believe that the evidence, not in a totalitarian way, but just generally speaking, that the evidence is strong enough for you to consider that others were involved. Did I get it right?
Not necessarily. I'm not saying to consider that others were involved. Yes, but not to assert.
Right, consider. That's what I said. Did I maybe I didn't say that. If I didn't, I meant to say that.
No, you did. I think you did. I think I just might have heard you. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, okay, let's just get into it then.
Can I start with the questions, or is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, my question, I guess, the generals. I mean, I'll be PBD right now. What percentage do you feel like somebody else was involved with Tyler Robinson? Where you stand there?
I don't have a percentage at the moment.
Okay.
The percentage I would say is kind of arbitrary. It's high enough for me to say that, and this is kind of my main point why I'm even here in the first place.
Sure.
I see a lot of people ridiculing others for having suspicion, and I'm here to basically to assert that ridicule is not founded or not well-founded. People can have their suspicions, and there's reasons for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think anybody, and again, I'm not speaking about you because I don't know you, but I don't think that the people being attacked is just anyone who literally says, hey, I wish we had more information, or hey, this evidence doesn't make sense, at least until we get more evidence in the public sphere. In fact, if anyone does say that, I'd love for anyone to point to me of anyone attacking that person, let's call it person A. The people that are by far being most attacked were the ones that I labeled in my opening statement, and people like them. Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Village Crazy Lady, I think her name is Mel, Project Constitution, Diligent, because they are not. Diligent, for example, just released a video yesterday that he got from the campus itself. The way he worded it is that somebody went to the campus to get it, and he tried to say that the officer, I believe it was Brian Davis, was completely lying because he said in the preliminary that there's no line of sight between Charlie Kirk's sitting position where he was when he was murdered and the computer science building. I made a whole video yesterday about this being like, right, it's just disingenuous. So I don't attack anyone simply for questioning it. I'd have to attack myself. Everything that Candace Owens has said, I've questioned it. I've never said, oh, because Candace Owens is saying it, it must automatically be wrong. Now, a lot of the times I question it for about 5 seconds because it takes about 5 seconds to realize she's an idiot. In some cases, it's taken a lot longer. Those Egyptian planes, that took a long time before stuff like that was getting debunked, which is, I think, why she overall abandoned that whole aspect. But you didn't mention Egyptian points, so let's just put that aside for a second. So
Yeah. And
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say a couple things. One, it's my personal belief that I don't think Candace Owens being malicious. That's kind of just a personal take. I can't really assert like any evidence for that. That's just my personal opinion. I think part of it for her is she's taking it, I think, one or two steps too far in her claims, and that's her strategic mistake. I think that she's obviously emotional for a good reason, and I think that's playing into her debate style with Andrew. And I think that that's causing her to leave the door open for a lot of the points that you make, where you clearly are able to show she has holes in her argument.
What do you think about Candace Owens right after the death, relatively after, within the first week or so? She said, I've done all the research. I looked into it extensively. Charlie Kirk was shot, with, I don't remember if she said 30-06 or just bullet at the time, but she said he was shot and his neck, specifically his spine, and she even points, stop the bullet. Right. What do you think about how she says she looked into it extensively, she believed it, and I'm not going to say I know for a fact this is why, I'm just saying hypothetically at that same time her audience starts to turn on her, and then magically she does a complete 180. Do you think that's coincidental, or do you think there's something there?
I don't care.
Okay, I just the reason I ask is because of your statement of she's not being malicious according to your opinion. I find the fact that she's not willing to concede just about anything, like the steakhouse receipts, which has already been debunked, right? She even gets asked that just on the debate, and she kind of gives like when it goes against her, she gives kind of these wishy-washy answers like, well, yeah, maybe, but we just have to wait. But when the evidence kind of goes in her direction, even though we still have to wait for more evidence, she never seems to say, let's just wait to see what happens. She always says, see, look at this. Do you find the bias towards one direction to be malicious?
Yeah, a lot of her claims require many inferential steps, but I see that on both sides, to be honest with you, including the prosecution.
Okay,
I see many inferential gaps that are open, and that's what I'm here to kind of nail down, because a lot of people are going to try to assert one thing in the positive or negative, and I think obviously you have the advantage. You're arguing from the side of, the government's investigatory results. You're arguing from that side is much easier to argue than trying to argue for a conspiracy, which by definition, if there is a conspiracy, it's trying to be covered up. I'm not going to go and try to assert all of those things and try to argue that here. I'm just saying that by definition, she's on a losing side of the battle. And so, if she can create a strong argument, good for her. If she can, change her stance a little bit to make it more plausible, make it more, to make it, I don't know, what's the word for it? Something that would stand scrutiny, then I think she should try to do that. I think she should definitely tone down her position. But I do also see why people are drawing connections. I do see the whole conspiratorial claim having some kind of weight in some people's minds. I'm not that kind of person to quickly jump to the conclusion as some people are, but again, I'm not here to argue that, so I'm arguing a different position.
No, I get it. I also understand why people jump to conspiracies just in general. But so let's just get into it. Let's go like kind of sort of claim by claim. What is it that you think? Again, we haven't talked about it. I don't really know all of your takes, but as far as just kind of stating, hey, in some cases she's making strong cases. In some cases you think she should tone it down. In some cases you understand where she's coming from. Let's start with the strongest one, or at least one of the stronger points that you look at and you say, hey, go ahead.
I just wanted to start off by establishing exactly what it is that you're claiming. So can I just ask you directly, how confident are you that Tyler Robinson acted entirely alone?
Entirely alone? I guess it depends.
Yes.
When you say entirely alone, you just mean like in a nefarious way somebody helped him, whether it be because he's a patsy or he's part of said group that killed Charlie Kirk?
He's the sole culprit. He's the person responsible. He pulled the trigger. He planned it.
The reason I'm asking is would help include, like, let's say something came out and Lance Twiggs, the boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the heck that the trans boyfriend, if like it came out that she can someone remind me, is Lance Twiggs a dude pretending to be a girl or a girl pretending to be a dude? I don't remember. I think it's a dude. Anyways, if Lance Twiggs came out and he actually knew ahead of time, and that came out, let's say, 5 months down the road, oh, Lance Twiggs didn't just, get this random text and he goes, oh my gosh, he actually knew, let's say that Tyler was planning it for a week. I could maybe see that as a possibility, but I assume your question is probably a little bit deeper than just the boyfriend knowing a little bit more. Is that a fair statement?
You could say that's a fair statement. I mean, I think that it would be not unreasonable to assume that the boyfriend slash girlfriend, whatever, um, probably knew about it.
I'll just say this directly. That's about as far as I'm willing to go. If we're talking about acting alone in terms of the Mossad helped him slash French Legionnaires slash Egyptian slash Mormon beekeeping groups slash
Or
maroon
anybody.
shirts or yeah, like a professional hit, if you will, whether you're talking about US, Israel, French, whatever, I do not buy into that at all. There's nothing at all that supports that. There are questions that people raise that I find at least within a reasonable doubt. Of course, obviously more information can come out that none of us know, including myself, but with the information we have right now, there's nothing that substantiates that within a reasonable doubt, a significant one for that matter.
Would you say that you're confident, near certain, maybe?
Yeah, I'm very certain of that as of the information that we have right now. Again, if we
Okay.
mean alone, like, Lance Twigs maybe knew a little bit more. No, that could be, I don't think so, but that could be up in the air. I'm willing to bet that. But like I said, I'm assuming you're talking about more in a professional way. Is that fair?
I'm not. I'm neither claiming either or. I'm just asking, just in general. Do you believe, like, or what's your level of confidence that he was essentially the one who is? He's essentially a lone actor, other than maybe telling his girl, boyfriend, whatever you want to.
Yeah, other than like
Refer.
maybe telling them and maybe they have even some sort of help because I'm going to assume a tranny probably also didn't like Charlie Kirk, like pending just that, or maybe a friend because he did. If I remember correctly, Discord message some of his friends or something. Pending those little things, I'm fully confident as of right now with the evidence that we have.
Okay, and I just want to make sure I reassert this. My goal here is to provide some credibility to those who are skeptical. I am not saying which which theory they have in place. It doesn't matter to me. That I'm trying to assert that skepticism is warranted, and that's essentially my claim here.
Well, I don't think
So,
anyone disagrees with that. Of course, skepticism is warranted. It's when skepticism turns into what I find to be evil ideology that I find not warranted, or lazy ideology at bare.
not everybody agrees skepticism is warranted. Many people are kind of addressing this as if it's an open and shut case.
Okay, I am not particularly one of those. I want the trial to happen. What I will say though is when skepticism becomes either evil ideology, which is what I see with Candace Owens and crew, or lazy ideology, which is what I see with Candace's cults following, right? And when I mean by lazy ideology, they bring up these claims, and I'm like, it takes me 5 seconds to explain that. This is like you're just being lazy. Anyways, let's get into it. So now that we've gotten kind of the claims out of the way, what is your kind of like with the things you do see more plausible with whether it be Candace Owens or somebody else you heard that's like Candace Owens? What is something that's more plausible that you look at and you're like, that makes absolutely no sense?
Okay, so number one, the thing that I think makes no sense, or it's very suspect,
Sure.
is the communications aspect. The communications aspect to me kind of throws up red flags. It's not. It doesn't conclusively prove anything about any other involvement with anybody else. I've already stated that a few times, but it does kind of give off that conspiratorial vibe, and I can explain why.
When you say communications, are you talking about like his text message? What do you mean by that? Or are you talking about to the public communications?
No, it's his text messages leading up to the crime, and maybe shortly after.
Okay, got it. Keep going.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask you, if possible, what do you make of the alleged communications? Is there anything about that you find weird?
Um, Weird, like the way he's speaking, or the fact that he did any communication at all.
Not the way he's speaking. Yeah, the fact that he, I mean, it seems unusual to me that he was willing to self-incriminate to such a degree.
I
when
would.
he-
Sorry,
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say I would find that maybe a little weird at first, but we know based off the testimony of I believe it was his roommate. I'm like 99% sure his roommate said that he was crying and saying I wish I didn't do it. So it sounds like this guy was having a lot of I'm not gonna say guilt. I don't think he particularly. I don't know Tyler, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess he probably doesn't care about Charlie Kirk even after assassinating him. Anyone who's willing to do that is evil, regardless of ideology. But what I will say is he was having whatever the equivalent of buyer's remorse is, but for killing remorse, or maybe he just felt the pressure of it all. So the fact that you combine pressure with somebody who's a blabbermouth, in fact, I think more times than not with cases, it is actually the case that criminals, especially when given the opportunity to communicate, end up incriminating themselves. It actually happens more times than not. Candace Owens, I know you said you didn't watch the debate. Is that correct, or you did?
I watched about the first hour and then I got pissed off because I felt like both sides were they weren't making the what I would call the epistemologically strongest claims.
Okay.
They were it was irritating me, and I also didn't want to kind of influence my own arguments, so I just stopped.
Okay, fair enough. So I don't know if this was in the first hour, or this was after, but there's a part where Candace Owens says something similar to what you just said, and she said a dealer on the corner that sells stuff. I don't think I can say it on TikTok, but you know what I'm saying, THC, right? She's like, he wouldn't even do that. But see, that was a false equivalency, and the reason is because that's somebody who is a criminal every single day, every single week, and they get more and more comfortable in their position. Tyler Robinson, I guess pending finding out he did something else in life that was a major crime, my guess, I think it's safe to say, is he's probably not somebody, especially his age, that has done such a serious crime before. And so it actually makes more sense that somebody like that is going to have their nerves shot, the anxiety rises, and they're going to be more likely to look for that comfort. And where are they going to find that comfort? Roommates, friends, boyfriend slash girlfriend, whatever Lance is to him. So yeah, actually, no, I don't find that weird at all.
Okay, well, I do. So let me see here.
What do you think about how most cases people, especially when they're given the chance to communicate more? In fact, if you ever take the time to look at interrogation videos, one of the biggest things that police officers do is just to stop talking and let them speak more and more. Sometimes when they even want to ask a question, they purposely just stare at them. Why do you think that's a tactic, and why do you think it works more times than not?
It's the pregnant pause, makes people uncomfortable, gets them to start revealing things that they normally wouldn't.
But why would they do that if they don't want to go to jail?
Because they're nervous and they're making a stupid logical decision or illogical decision.
Do you think Tyler Robinson was nervous?
I can't assert nor I can't
deny
nor confirm that.
Do you think after assassinating, he sees his rifle or his grandfather's rifle all over the news? He's getting more. Is it at least plausible to think that maybe this young guy who just murdered somebody who's not again? Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's all I'm saying. So if he was nervous, and you just said that nerves make people reveal things.
But he could have been, yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's all I want. I just want to.
It's reasonable to assume that.
Okay, so if he was nervous, again, big if, right? If he was nervous, and you just admitted that criminals who just did a crime, their nerves cause them to talk to a complete stranger, I would argue that if he was nervous, I'm going to assume he was, but you're right, it is an assumption. But if he was nervous, him talking to somebody that he feels comfortable with, sorry, doesn't seem that weird to me, but keep going.
The weird part is that he acknowledged that he acknowledged the potential for them using his messages to incriminate him. So it's not like he wasn't aware that what he was talking about electronically could be used against him. He was aware of it. That was demonstrated in his own messages. Right. So that in itself is very weird to me, especially considering that, it's just weird. It's just weird. I mean, I'm going to speak from my own personal, this is anecdotal, obviously, but most people I know, criminal or non-criminal, if you were to ask them, is it smart to discuss any kind of illegal activity, especially talking about murder here, over any kind of electronic communications? That doesn't, no. He can make that mistake. That's totally fine. That happens, like you said. It's not without precedent. So I'm not going to try to sit here and argue that that's something that's impossible or completely proves that, there's a broader conspiracy. But at least there is room to have suspicion regarding that point.
Right. Okay. So I got two things from you. You said he knew cops would see. I agree, but we also have to take into consideration that he was very seriously considering unaliving himself. So maybe he didn't care at that time until his father confronted him, and they had I believe it was a sheriff. I know it was a friend of the family. I think it was a sheriff, cop, whatever. They convinced him to actually turn himself in. And then there's communication where he says to, I believe this was his friends on Discord, maybe it was somebody else, but I know there's communication where he said, I'm going to be turning myself in, or I'm surrendering, I think is the word he used. So you are correct that maybe that's a little weird. I don't see why that equals.
I don't mean to take words out of Candace's mouth, but don't you think that really is too on the nose?
What's too on the nose?
The fact that not only did he explicitly outline what he was going to do, but then literally
what he did do, right? Not going to do, did do.
Did do, yeah. Did do, but he literally he discussed that he would be visible on camera.
Yeah,
that isn't a little on the nose.
No, to me, it was somebody he loves, and he's saying, look, this is going to happen. And before you say it, yes, like, you're going to see me. I want to be the one to tell you instead of you finding out via Fox News or CNN. That's how I took that. But real quick, I just want to say, again, this idea of it's too on the nose, when most people end up doing this kind of stuff, even to a stranger, they end up just telling on themselves and giving details. I don't see why that would be so weird that he would tell somebody he loves and is effectively saying, again, we'd have to ask Tyler, maybe that'll come out in time exactly, but my argument is just as, if not more plausible to believe, he's telling his love, you're going to see this stuff and I wanted you to hear it from me because it's definitely going to come out in 5 seconds. And that's not weird to me.
Not in person.
I'm sorry, what?
Why not do that in person?
Time sakes, if something is going to be coming out literally in seconds, like every second you're seeing stuff on the news or getting more information out.
He literally discussed his planning. Like, it was long before the actual event took place. He was discussing this, from what I understand.
No, it was definitely what do you mean before the event took place? Oh, wait, what?
Before he actually shot Charlie Kirk, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong here, I could have my facts mixed up, but he discussed his
I don't think
planning.
that's accurate at all. I think it was after the fact.
Can you pull up a fact check on that? Because I could be wrong.
I could just Google it real quick. There might have been some Did Tyler Robinson communicate with friends, family, or significant other about killing Charlie Kirk before he actually killed Charlie Kirk? Let's see. Searching. Okay, so I don't like to use AI. I'm doing it for speed, but we can pull the sources. I just want to read for you. It says, no, Tyler James Robinson did not explicitly tell his friends, family, or significant other that he planned to kill Charlie Kirk before the assassination. While investigators revealed that he left a hidden physical note before the shooting, his loved ones were completely unaware of his specific plans until after the crime. Now, the sourcing on that is CBS News, ABC4 Utah, titled Testimony of Tyler Robinson's former romantic partner, Lance Twiggs. The New Yorker, Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson came from the same. I can try to pull up. Here's the courthouse news. Roommate of accused Charlie Kirk shooter says Tyler Robinson admitted to slaying. That's this article right here for you if anyone wants to see. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's accurate. If there's anyone in the chat that maybe knows, it's possible I missed one of the communications. Every communication I read was things that happened after or testimony that happened, I believe, in person. Or not believe, it was in person.
Okay. I'm doing my own check here, just really quick.
Yeah. If you can find something, that'd be great.
It says yes, if you mean Tyler Robinson discussing Charlie Kirk before December 10th shooting. There's some reported evidence.
Oh, true, but not. Yeah,
the same as what you're saying.
No. I know what that is. There are times where he discussed him and he like called him maybe a fascist or something, but there was never anything before where he said, when he comes to UVU on September 10th, I'm gonna go take this weapon. I'm gonna use it here. He didn't do any of that. So
gotcha.
You can keep looking. Maybe you'll find something, but I don't think that's the case. Now, that's the first thing. We have to take in the fact that he wanted to unalive himself. So this idea of it's like, why would he do that? First off, most criminals, first-time criminals, especially a serious crime, especially younger criminals like him, that's actually the common thing. It would actually, ironically, statistically, be weird if he didn't do that. But I digress. The second thing you said is everyone would say that that's not smart if you were to ask criminal or non-criminal. Once again, yes, if you ask me, I would also say, yeah, you shouldn't do that. But just like how, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but I'll use it, just like how coaches might be better at coaching than actually being players. Sometimes it's easier to determine what one should do in a situation. But when you're on the metaphorical court, you're actually not Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or Michael Jordan. But could you teach Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan? Absolutely. So I do believe that people would say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But when your nerves and anxiety are up there and the metaphorical shining lights are on you, I don't really see why that's relevant, to be honest with you.
Right, and I don't think that the timing of the communications are necessarily huge in terms of my point here, because my point is essentially that he did discuss his motive, planning the rifle, recovering the weapon, and other highly incriminating details. Whether it's before or after, he was aware that discussing those things would incriminate him. And so, to me, it's just a little bit weird. Especially considering the fact that he wasn't dumb, at least from what I understand. I mean,
what makes you think he wasn't dumb?
Well, I'm not assuming that he wasn't dumb, but at minimum, he was academically competent.
I don't think sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think academics teach you on how to act when you murder somebody.
No. You're right. But it does kind of establish a baseline level of intellect, I would say.
No, I'll be honest with you. I did nuclear engineering in the U.S. Navy for about 12 years. That's what I am still. I'm an engineering inspector. The amount of people that, especially the non-mechanics, I was a MMN, the amount of people that were nukes that will blow 99% of Americans out of the water when it came to academics, that could not do the most base, they couldn't pump gas without instructions. is it's a lot higher than you think. People can be very, very book smart and do the dumbest shit when it comes to common sense. I don't buy that.
I mean, sure, you can argue that point, and that's fair enough. But I mean, personally speaking, if I were to compare two people, I would give a little bit of weight to it. I think it's not zero weight, essentially.
Okay.
It might not be complete weight, but it's not zero either.
Okay. Sure, we can put some weight to it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, or do you want to keep going on communications, or is there other stuff that you are like, this is also what I find to be weird?
Yeah, because criminals do stupid things, but
well, he wasn't a criminal though. He is a criminal, but he wasn't a criminal. We have to remember that.
No, right, and that I was just kind of broadly kind of giving you some rope here. Sure. As to the claim that he doesn't necessarily mean that he was smart, or it doesn't necessarily mean that he was thinking logically at the time either, which is I think what your point kind of is. That's what you're asserting.
I think almost every, just like how you said, almost everyone would say it's not smart for a criminal, or non-criminal would say it's not smart to do that. I'd be willing to bet if I polled America, most people would argue that you're not going to be thinking clearly after unaliving somebody. Especially when you're not some kind of like assassin. How old is Tyler Robinson? I already forgot. Was he like 20 or
like 27 or something?
How old is Tyler Robinson?
I don't know. He's in college. He's got to be younger than that. He's got to be like 22.
Yeah, I think he's like 23. Yeah, I was gonna say 20 to 22. He's 23. Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with you. He wasn't thinking clearly, but yeah, he's a 23-year-old that just assassinated somebody that effectively billions of people saw. Not literally directly. There's about 5,000 people that saw it, but I'm talking about around the world. His face, not his face, but his face as in Charlie Kirk's face. The credits, not the credits, the details of the investigation, what he knows they're about to find. He knows it. Like, as he's watching the news, he's like, oh gosh, they found the gun, they found the towel wrap. Like,
why would he tell his roommate to delete those messages if...
I'm sorry, what?
Why would he tell his roommate to delete the messages if he didn't think that it was, significant?
I don't think he didn't think it was significant. I think just like all criminals, they say things, right? Sorry, let me rephrase. All non-criminals that do a major crime, they say things, and then there could have been a lapsing thought where he's just like, maybe that wasn't smart. I'm not sure. We'd have to ask him, but I don't think... What I want to get away from is the idea of just like, hey, this kid's weird. Yeah, the kid is weird. I don't know if you saw, did you see that video of him from like a year before the assassination where he got like pulled over by a police officer? Did you hear how he speaks? Did you happen to see that video?
No, that video, no.
There's a video that got released. I think it was a year before, give or take. He literally speaks very weird. He's very awkward. And this is not with the idea that he just murdered somebody. This is just how he is. So yeah, I
off a little like ADHD or something, or autist or something?
I mean, I don't know. I'm autistic. I don't think I don't know. I don't know how to explain it to you. You should just go watch the video. The way he speaks, the way he acts, his mannerisms, it's very weird.
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to argue if Tyler Robinson's weird or not. I'm here to argue, why does that go, again, very key words here, beyond a reasonable doubt? Why that should shift us to, again, this idea that we should question that without lazy thinking. We should question everything. Yeah. But I'm talking about getting to lazy thinking, to evil ideology, somewhere in that spectrum. That's what I want to avoid.
Yeah, and I think what matters is the combination of the two. It's like an academically capable person, according to the state's own account, demonstrated very specific awareness of the forensic and electronic evidence, nevertheless supposedly documented all of it. And that is just, to me, that's weird. And you can disagree, but if he displayed awareness that would be used against him, and then just decided to document everything anyway, to me that is weird.
You're saying he documented stuff after asking his roommates to delete things?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
When he asked his roommate delete that message, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't remember that part. When he asked that, was that after or before he already documented stuff and texted Lance and all that?
I'm pretty sure that was, you can double check this. I think it was after.
Right, so that actually makes sense. If he said it before and then, because that's what I don't know if you meant to, but just so you know, what you just said was, if he knew that would be incriminating, then why would he go and label it all out? It's the opposite. He labeled it all out, then he realized it was incriminating.
Well, yeah, fair enough. But I mean, we should probably check that right now, if possible, because I think that would clear up.
Sure.
Let me see here. And sorry to do this fact check.
No. Fact checking's fine.
Yeah.
Did Tyler Robinson tell his roommate to delete the messages that he sent?
Before or after?
Well, I'm going to ask it first. Once it says yes, then I'll try to establish a timeline. Okay, there we go. What time, date and time, did he tell his roommate to delete this exchange? Seems like he told the roommate and Lance Twit. I'll just read what it says first. Right, 1 second, please. Yes. I'm not hungry. I got us burgers from this place in Los Angeles and the city. It was really good. Okay. Sorry, my wife's asking if I want food. Anyways, so this is what it says. I said, did Tyler Robinson tell his roommate to delete the message that he sent? The AI, Gemini, says, yes, Tyler Robinson explicitly told his roommate to delete the text message they exchanged. According to court documents and text logs revealed by prosecutors, Robinson instructed his roommate and romantic partner, Lance Twiggs, to delete this exchange, that's in quotes, shortly after the shooting of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. The instruction, after sending messages confessing to the shooting and discussing the weapon, Robinson then told Twiggs to delete the conversation. Okay, so it says right here, legal consequences. Because he told Twiggs to destroy the message history, this is why prosecutors are hitting him with an additional charge of witness tampering, which Candace Owens did bring that up. There's 2 charges of witness tampering. I guess this is what got him the second one. Then I asked what date and time, did he tell his roommate to delete the exchange? Said he told his roommate to delete the exchange. It doesn't give me a time. It just says September 10th, the same day, with the exact minute-by-minute timestamp for that specific text was not highlighted. The logs show the instruction was sent from his phone later that evening while he was on the run. Okay, so I don't have an exact time.
Well, even if it was after,
okay,
that doesn't conclusively establish that he didn't think of deleting it until after. He could have already been aware that, yes, I'm going to have to delete these messages before he sent the messages. So it doesn't logically automatically follow, which is what I think you just said.
Well, I would say if it was after, it does follow. But hold on, I just asked it more directly. Was it after he sent that he admitted to the killing? So yeah, it does say right here. So the question I asked was that message after he sent him admitting to the killing? And it says, yes, Tyler Robinson told his roommate to delete the exchange after he had already admitted to the killing. So yeah, I think that actually makes perfect sense. I think in his nerves and anxious and whatnot, he said it. It doesn't matter if it's smart or not. He's a 23-year-old major criminal. That's probably the #1 talked about person in the entire, at least country, definitely a lot of parts of the world even, but at least country. I think he flooded it all out to the people that he at least was close to. And then later he goes, okay, maybe that's not smart. And so we asked him to delete it. I don't think anything's weird beyond doubt or reasonable doubt.
There would be no reason to tell anybody to delete anything until he already sent incriminating stuff anyway. So the only time he could have asked anybody to delete anything isn't until after anyways.
Right.
So it doesn't establish that, he didn't think of it until after.
But why does it matter? Like, well, let's get to the next part of my favorite part of debate. So what? Why does this matter? Why does this equal, again, I know you're not saying it's definitely 100% he's a patsy and you're not an absolute person, but why does it equal beyond just saying that's weird?
Well, what I'm asserting is that it's weird enough to essentially not relinquish your suspicion.
Weird to the point that this equals your original claim of that he didn't act alone?
Well, that's one single point. We can get to the other ones.
Well, of course. But why does this single point, if anything, it kind of debunks what you're saying, right? Because I'll tell you why. Because if he was not acting alone, well, some of the people he could have been acting with are the people he texted. But if he was acting, if he wasn't acting alone and these people were involved too, Lance, roommates, etc., well, then it doesn't make sense that he would text them. If he was acting with the Mossad, French Legionnaire, whatever, pick your favorite government or organization, assassin hit squad, well, then he definitely wouldn't tell these people it was me, because now he's in a professional hit. So why would he be so dumb as his professional assassin, or at least professional helper of an assassinist or organization? Why would he go and then immediately blow their whole case by doing that?
Well, that's the thing. What I'm saying is I'm not asserting anything, but I'm saying that does fit into the patsy theory. It doesn't.
Right. So you do believe he's possibly a patsy?
It's a plausibility, yes.
Okay, got it.
I'm not asserting it. What I'm saying is that those things aren't. You know what I'm saying here?
No. I got it. That's my bad. I thought you were saying, and I know you're not asserting it. I got it, but I thought what you were saying is he was involved in a way that he knew he was involved. You're saying he could have been involved or he's a patsy. Got it. Okay. We'll go with the patsy thing. I still don't think that's weird at all. Let's move on to if you have more, keep going. But let's move on to the next thing that you say. This is weird. This is a big deal. This is evidence.
Yeah, sure. I think the next thing I would have wanted to move to is the separate from the confession hold on. Give me a second here. Okay. Shooter identification and surveillance. This is one of the things that I think a lot of people are using to try to, I guess, use against people who have suspicion.
Real quick, you said shooter identification and
The surveillance footage,
Surveillance, got it.
rooftop footage. Yeah, the composite footage, that stuff.
Okay, what about it?
Well, people are using this to essentially try to dispel suspicion,
Um,
and there's no clear direct facial identification of Robinson in any camera
how does this?
throughout the entire process.
Yes, I agree. You wear sunglasses. I'm
Yeah,
and a hat. I'm
yeah.
confused on how this equals plausibly Patsy or group effort with some kind of assassin hit squad. Why does this
I'm not
matter?
asserting that.
Well,
I'm
that's your
asserting that
original claim. So
no, so what I'm asserting, so I guess what I was trying to do was see your position is less in the affirmative than I suspected. I would have suspected that you would have kind of took that, surveillance footage perhaps, which a lot of people do, and they say, "Oh, look, this is like extremely strong conclusive evidence that it was Tyler Robinson."
it is extremely strong evidence. It's not proof. You understand the
Yeah,
difference between
conclusive.
evidence and proof.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's extremely strong evidence. They followed him and
agree with
watched
that.
him the
I
whole
agree.
time. And by the way, we don't even have all the surveillance footage as the public. The defense has it because we know because they said the prosecution said that the defense has what we have. They actually brought that up in the Candace Owens Andrew debate, but unfortunately, Candace tried to play it in her favor because she didn't read the rest of the sentence, or Andrew didn't read the rest of the sentence. The very next page said they have what we have. So they literally follow him and they track him throughout the entire campus. What we've seen as the public is parts here and there of that. So I think it's absolutely, if you're asking me to be more assertive, sure, no problem. I think it's extremely strong evidence that it's that proves him, and it definitely doesn't prove he's a patsy. But again,
See, I wouldn't say it
evidence and
proves him.
proof is different.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't prove, but it is
Well, of
strong
course it
evidence. I can see
doesn't.
that.
We haven't even gotten to the
Yeah.
trial yet, let alone the end of the trial.
Right. And so essentially, I'm arguing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, your position is much more flexible than
I don't
guess
see
it would be.
how. I'm saying, if you want me to be very direct with
No, you
the
don't have to be,
evidence,
it's fine.
well, I will, just to be safe, because I feel like we're not getting to the crux of the debate here. So I'm going to be very direct with the evidence that we have now. Meaning, unless something comes out that really just blows this case sideways, Tyler Robinson will be found guilty for, Candace Owens, I know you're watching, aggravated murder. Okay, not murder, aggravated murder. He's going to be found guilty for that, right? But again, that's pending something coming out that's like, actually, we found this piece of evidence and it really blows something sideways. As long as everything's going the way it's going and new evidence just goes in that same direction, more or less, I'm saying it's Tyler Robinson. So if that's not as assertive as I can make it for you, then I don't know what to tell you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're essentially, yeah, I can see where you're making that, that claim with, certainty. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
In
That's
what world
fine.
could it possibly be? The prosecutor, excuse me, the defense just came out and they're trying to get the death penalty off of the charge, right? Or sorry, the conviction. If he gets convicted, they're trying to get death penalty removed. Why? Because they're not even denying that he shot Charlie Kirk. They're denying that he put anyone else at risk because of how clear he aimed at Charlie, took one shot, and then immediately ran. So they're trying to get the aggravated part removed down to just murder. So that way they don't, like, the process, or defense is essentially saying it. I'm not saying they said it directly, but they did. He admitted to it. Unless you think these text messages are fake, I'd love to hear your evidence. He admitted to it. He told his father about it. His father and their friend got him to surrender himself. He's on the campus. I like, dude, they found the casing, the spent casing, and they matched that casing on the roof that they found it to that rifle. The casing specifically, right? They found that because the 30-06 is a cartridge, but the spent casing, right? They found that on the roof that Tyler Robinson was. They matched his palm print. His DNA is by far the major contributor in the rifle, the towel, the screwdriver. His DNA on the rifle has a likelihood of 1 trillion to 1. 1 trillion to 1. That means if you took every person in the world, he would be the most likely. And then on top of all that, they matched the casing to that gun that's owned by the grandfather of Tyler Robinson. So again, unless something comes out that really blows this case sideways, I'm telling you that it's Tyler Robinson. I just want to make sure I'm very clear so you don't think I'm not assertive here.
Sure, that's fine. But For me, the reason why I am maintaining my suspicion, essentially, is because there's precedent for stuff like this happening. Charlie Kirk was a very influential kinetic speaker, which we don't have very many of, that had a lot of enemies. And I believe that there's precedent. I mean, JFK. JFK, same scenario. I mean, did they not find conclusive evidence in the same way that they found the same cartridges found near the location where the shots were being taken? That they connected to Lee Harvey Oswald in the same manner they connected those cartridges to.
I don't think even
sorry,
I don't even think the conspiracies don't think that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't involved. The conspiracies think that there was more than one shooter. So I don't see why that's even relevant.
I'm not trying to get into the conspiracies of that.
I'm just saying, even if that's true, it's kind of irrelevant to your point. They still would find the cartridge and it still would be conclusive. If you think there was more than one shooter for Charlie Kirk, if you're trying to make that case, then make that case and tell me why you think that. But don't just tell me, hey, there's conspiracies with JFK, so there must be conspiracies with this.
That's not what I'm asserting. I'm not asserting that just because there was conspiracies with JFK that it's automatically there's conspiracies with this Charlie Kirk case.
But
what I'm saying,
I guess what I'm asking you, you're telling me I'm not as assertive as you thought. I feel like I'm the one being more assertive. I'm trying to still figure out what you are saying, to be honest with you.
my position remains the same. My position remains that the prosecution has not provided conclusive evidence that the shooter was in fact Tyler Robinson. And until they do, and if they do, if there comes out, if there's a camera angle that comes out that like can clearly show his face, that would be a huge evidential, like a piece of evidence that would get me to shift my position over into believing.
How do you know they haven't provided that evidence? You mean to you personally? What do you mean by they haven't? How do you know?
Until it becomes public and I get to see it, then let's say I get to see that, my position would change.
I'm sorry, that's an insane claim. We haven't even gone to trial. Of course you haven't seen it yet. That's insane.
I know.
But that wasn't your claim. Your claim wasn't just like, hey, I don't know anything until the trial starts. Your claim was that you think, again, with a reasonable understanding here, not anything crazy, that these claims that other people are making, including you, but also others, are understandable. I'm claiming that they're not at all. Again, beyond lazy argument all the way to evil ideology. I'm saying they're not. So you just saying, well, we haven't gotten the information yet. Well, yeah, nobody denies that. We haven't gone to trial yet. That's an insane take.
Right,
I think.
I'm leaving room for my position to be falsified.
Also, how does that even?
Yeah.
Well, no, of course you can. Just don't answer as dumb as Candace Owens and say 0%, say 1%, say 5%, say 10%, whatever.
0%. Huh? 0%. I never said 0%.
No, I know you didn't. That's why I said don't be dumb like Candace. I'm trying to figure out, once again, within a reasonable understanding or reasonable doubt, why you believe these claims are based on anything beyond just, no shit, that's just lazy arguments here.
Which claims?
Well, so far what you've given me was the communications, which again, even if I was being nice and gave you as much as I didn't, I think that's an insane claim. But even if I gave you what you said about communications, it still wouldn't even actually show anything at all. As for the second claim you've given me, was shooter identification and surveillance. None of that matters. So I'm asking you, what is your strongest thing that you think is weird about this case? Evidence, DNA, statistics, logic, whatever the case might be. What is the strongest one that makes What is the strongest one that you can say this right here is what gives me the highest percentage that proves or will maybe prove that he was a patsy and or a part of a group that assassinated Charlie Kirk? Which is the one that's like, when you look at it as of where we stand right now in life, that makes you think that's the one, if I were to, like, the biggest one, that's the strongest one that makes me think he was a patsy and or etc.
All of the evidence, if all of the pieces of evidence, if we single them out and just put them in a vacuum, they're not strong enough to make me. I know,
that's why I said the strongest one. I didn't say the only one. I said the strongest one. Because obviously we should start with the strongest.
There is no one point that's strong enough on its own to make me want to reserve.
Not on its own. Not on its own. The fact that I'm saying strongest implies that it's not on its own. If I'm saying,
I don't know which piece of evidence would be strongest. I think for me, I don't know. I don't know the answer to which piece. There's others as well. We can get into like the DNA, for example.
All right. So I reject the comms one, the shooter ID and surveillance. I don't think we really got anywhere. Let's go to the third thing, regardless if it's strongest or not. What's the third thing?
I mean, we can get into like the DNA. That's
okay. Fine. DNA. All right. What about the DNA?
And I can start off by saying that I agree that the DNA evidence strongly connects Robinson to the rifle immediately. But I have a question. What do you think that the DNA establishes beyond having contact with the weapon?
Well, as of right now, that's what DNA is. What do you mean? That's all DNA was established. I'm not really sure what you're asking here.
Right. So I think this is the issue.
But that's for any case ever in history. What else would DNA establish? Like, what is the possibility that DNA?
Go ahead.
Well, you're asking like, well, what does the DNA establish except for, and then you just label the only thing DNA does. Yeah, it means he had contact with the rifle, and the fact that he is the major contributor means he probably was even the last one to have contact with the rifle. Do you agree that the rifle did take a shot and they found the spent casing and matched it to the rifle? Do we agree with that? At least unless there's a big conspiracy that everyone's lying, but okay. So if we know the gun was shot, we know the casing has been matched to the gun 100%. We know that the bullet itself was shot, and that casing was the casing for said cartridge. We know all that. That's been confirmed. And we know Tyler Robinson was on there. We know his palm print matches the guy on the roof's palm print. And his DNA was a major contributor on the rifle. In what world could we not assert that he took a shot on that roof?
The fatal projectile was not conclusively matched to the rifle. That's one element.
Okay, so that's not true. So that's a misconception that a lot of people say, and I kind of went over that a little bit in my opening statement. The bullet was not conclusively matched to Robinson's rifle. It's factual in the statement by itself, but it's extremely misleading. The ATF did not determine that the fatal projectile, if you will, came from a different weapon. The recovered bullet, or jacket fragment, to be more specific, was damaged. And by the way, this happens almost all the time. This is not a weird thing. So what the damaged jacket fragment, if you will, leaving too few individual markings on said fragment to identify or eliminate Robinson's rifle as the source. On top of that, inconclusive does not mean a mismatch, okay? It means that the examiner could not make a scientifically conclusive identification either way. However, what we do know on that cartridge is it was a spent 30-06. We know that, okay? And the spent 30-06 cartridge case associated with the shot was positively matched to the recovered rifle, which is what I was saying earlier. So the accurate summary is not the bullet was not conclusively matched. The accurate summary is that damaged projectile, inconclusive comparison, spent casing, positive match to that specific rifle, and ballistics also do not stand alone. Obviously, we know that. So overall, I would say, they could not individualize a damaged bullet fragment to the rifle. True. That's actually very common. It was too damaged. But they also could not exclude the rifle. So just as much as it might help this conspiracy, it also hurts it equally, right? Because if they were to have the markings...
Yeah, I understand. Okay, I agree with you there. I agree that it works both ways, but that's not my position. My position is that because it's not conclusively matched to the rifle, there is still room for suspicion.
In what way? They found the spent casing. The spent casing matched.
It hasn't been conclusively matched to the rifle.
So I'll explain. The only other option. No. I'm going to explain something different. There's only one other option. Okay? There's two options. There's only one other. The first option is the narrative. Tyler Robinson on that roof shot his Mauser 30-06. Casing comes out, spent, and the bullet gets fragmented on the way into Charlie Kirk's, hits his spine. It's too fragmented, so they cannot read the markings, so they can't go either way. That's the narrative. You're saying, but it could be something else. This is the only other option. The only other option is that somebody else from a different spot shot a 30-06 with a different rifle at the exact same moment that Tyler shot as well, shooting Charlie Kirk with said 30-06, making the fragmented bullet come from person B's gun, and Tyler also shot it. Maybe he missed, I guess. We don't know where his bullet went, but he missed. And the reason I say Tyler definitely also shot it is because they have, on the roof Tyler was on, they have the spent casing. So what you're saying is, but there could be another option. That would be the only option. Is that 30-06 bullet came from somebody else at the exact same moment, at the exact same, not spot as Tyler, but I'm saying spot as in the UVU campus, right? Computer science building? No. Some other building? Maybe. I don't know. But then I'd have to ask you, why would somebody do that? Even if this was some big Mossad conspiracy or French Legionnaires or whatever, why would they have Tyler Robinson shoot and also have some other guy shoot? Just that, like, in what world does that help them? Because we know there's a 30-06 in Charlie Kirk. It was too damaged to determine which rifle it came from. We know that Tyler's rifle shot. We know that Tyler's rifle had an spent casing. We know that Tyler's rifle was matched to that spent casing, and we know that casing matches the bullet fragment. So what's the other option? I have to ask you, what would possibly be the other option?
I'm not here to assert other options. I'm here to assert that
of course you
wasn't completely matched to the rifle. And I'm trying to, here, let me ask you, is it okay if I ask you a question?
Yes, but real quick, I want to say you are here to not assert as in 100%, but of course you have to give other options, because if you cannot give another option, then that makes the option that we're left with, aka the narrative in this case, that makes it the only possible one, which means it's 100% likely or at least significant. I'm sorry, what?
The burden of proof is not upon me.
You're the one making the
burden
claim.
of proof is upon them to conclusively prove that that bullet came from that gun and hit Charlie Kirk. Okay. The burden of proof is upon them, not me.
Correct. So the way you prove it is by, well, actually, no, you made a claim. So the burden of proof for your claim specifically is on you. If you're just talking about, you're not here to argue that the case hasn't been completed yet. So if you're here to argue and say, hey, look, we haven't gotten this information yet, then there's no reason to be having this debate because nobody disagrees with that. You're here to argue that there's some plausibility to people's conspiracies beyond a reasonable doubt, more than just, I think it's weird, right? There's got to be something there. I'm not saying you're Candace Owens level. I got that. You made that clear. But there's something there. If you're only here to argue that we're not done with the case, well, yeah, no shit. We don't know what they have or haven't proven yet in court or given to the defense.
You just asserted something I wasn't aware of, right? Because from a lot of the videos, a lot of the people, and I'm not going to attribute your commenters to your belief. That's stupid to do. But I got the impression, based off of a lot of what I'm seeing online surrounding this conversation, a lot of people are treating it as if it's conclusive, as if any kind of skepticism towards this case, towards the Tyler Robinson lone shooter theory, is completely unwarranted.
I've never heard one person. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, I've never heard one person ever say, I think it is unwarranted to even just say you think something's weird or questioning something. I've never heard one person ever say that.
Under your own videos, there's comments, and there's plenty of them.
There's no comment that says people are never allowed to question anything.
Maybe not per se, but there's definitely a large number of people that if you say, oh, I'm leaving open room for suspicion, they'll call you an anti-Semite and an idiot. And it's like, I'm not claiming that's your position. I'm just simply here to say that.
Can you point to me one person that is in my comment section that says, if you just have, or not even have, if you just leave room for possible future information, you're an anti-Semite? I'm not going to say there's literally zero, but if you're just going to cherry pick one or two comments.
That's not even my main point here. My main point is
but that's your claim right now. I don't know anyone, and when I say anyone, there's 8 billion people in the world, so sure, maybe there's literally someone. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me, dude, what does that mean? Like 0.00001%, and they might even be trolls who aren't even being serious. Like that's
I'm sure, but within the echo chamber or within this debate, within this conversation, you're gonna have those people.
I don't know anyone.
You don't have to go through all 8 billion people.
I've never heard
there's not 8 billion people all discussing this online.
I've never ever heard one person ever say that you're an anti-Semite if you even just want to question things. And if for some reason you find that one person, I promise you all Jews around the world, other than him, if he is a Jew, probably will call him an idiot too for thinking that. But I'm going to go off on a strong limb here and think you're minimizing it a little bit to push the narrative right now. I don't think people say that.
Well, I mean, that's my personal experience. I'm not going to argue that. That's anecdotal, and that's a losing battle. But I'll concede this point to you. Fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah, and I have a question. So, are you essentially saying that you're giving almost or near zero evidentiary weight to the inconclusive ballistic comparison?
What do you mean? It's correct. I added the context that you missed. I'm not.
No, I understood the context. I understood the context, and I know you're making this claim that in order for the only other explanation must be some other shooter from a similar angle on another rooftop with the same.
It has to be. It has to be,
right.
And I'll tell you why. Sure. If the cartridge, if the fragment,
I give you that.
Okay, so you agree with me, yes?
No, I don't necessarily agree that's the only explanation. I don't know the
What other
capabilities of.
one?
I don't know what the capabilities of any other entity that is out there.
I'll ask you very directly. In
Yeah.
what way is it possible, if it wasn't from, let's just call it person A, I won't even say Tyler Robinson, person A, who shot from the Lassie center, the Lassie building, right? In what way could it be possible that the fragment that they pulled from Charlie Kirk, even though they don't have markings to determine as to that specific gun, but they do know what type of bullet it is, in what way could the exact same bullet at the exact same time, at the exact same moment, at the exact same spot, at the exact same entrance wound could possibly match the gun that Tyler Robinson / person A was the exact same gun he was holding as the exact same spent casing that was the exact same casing that matched the rifle? If you can give me something else,
Would it necessarily have to be the exact same gun?
the casing that they found, right,
No, I
definitely
understand
matches that gun.
You said the exact same gun. Would it
Other
have to be necessarily
guns,
the exact-
right? So other guns shoot 30-06. I didn't say the exact same gun. I said the exact same gun as the spent casing was tested to. So the only other option would be a second shooter at the exact same time, moment, all shot also at 30-06. Doesn't have to be the same gun, just something that shoots at 30-06, right? And they would have to shoot it at the exact same moment that because we know Tyler Robinson's gun or his grandfather's gun did shoot. They found the casing, they matched it to the gun, and they also determined that it was fired that day, right? So we know that happened. So you would have to, first off, you saying they didn't provide evidence, I could equally determine, well, the defense also hasn't provided evidence because if Tyler Robinson shot, and let's say he missed, and the thing that entered Charlie's neck was some other 30-06, which I find to be such an insane claim, but let's bear with it here. Sure. Tyler's bullet would have had to go somewhere. Where did it go? Where is it?
I understand. That's all fine and well, but it still does not establish the fact that that bullet came from that gun. It doesn't establish that conclusively. The burden of proof is still upon you.
So what? No, the burden of proof is on your claim, right? I agree with you that in the trial,
due to the fact that it was inconclusive.
Why does that matter?
You're saying that I have to,
why does it matter? No, you don't have to do anything, but if you want to hold any weight to your claim right now, you should do it. You don't have to do anything. But my question to you is, why does that matter? Why does it matter?
Because the prosecution themselves says that the ballistics match is inconclusive.
But why does that matter? That's very common. That's extremely common.
Sure. I mean, is it? I mean, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. Fragmented bullets. Yes. Fragmented bullets. It's very common for this to happen because they become so damaged, whether ricochet bullets or fragmented bullets inside the body, et cetera, et cetera. Why does it matter? You brought it up for a reason. You can't just say, oh, I just brought it up for funsies. You brought it up for a reason. Why does it matter?
Look, I can keep reasserting that it's inconclusive, and you can keep saying, well, the only other explanation would be that somebody else with a similar or the same rifle would have to have fired at the same time from a similar angle and distance. Sure, that's fine. And I'm not here to get, like, this is actually one of my
I'm just asking you, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Let's pretend I didn't say any of that stuff. Why does it matter? Like, you brought it up for a reason.
Because if it was conclusively matched to the rifle, then that would dramatically reduce suspicion. Would it not?
Well, sure, but you're not here to argue. Right there. Well, no shit. It's just like if Tyler Robinson got on live TV and said, I did it, would also do that, but it's irrelevant to the conversation. And I'll explain why. Your argument here isn't that it has been proven without a doubt and conviction that Tyler Robinson is a shooter. That's never been your argument. So to say, well, it would lower suspicion, who cares? That's not the point. Your argument right now is that, again, within a reasonable understanding, that there is a plausible reason to think that he was either a patsy or part of a group, whether it be Mossad, French, whatever, some group that put out this official hit, right? That's what you're here to argue. I know that because I wrote it down because you said it. So I'm trying to figure out how that somehow proves that, or not proves, excuse me, is evidence to that.
Repeat that last part one more time.
How does the bullet not conclusively matching to Robinson's rifle, like you said earlier, you have to take things not just singular, but all of the evidence put together. How does the bullet not conclusively matching Robinson's rifle, but everything else that I told you that has been proven, again, that we know of, there will be more proven when it goes to trial and all that, but nonetheless, how does that somehow give reasonable evidence to establish the fact that he was either a patsy or a part of this hit squad?
I'm not here to provide evidence that he was a patsy. He was a patsy or part of a larger hit squad.
You're not here to prove it.
The prosecution has failed to conclusively prove.
No, they haven't failed. That's incorrect. I'll explain why. This is the equivalent of a basketball game that just ended in the first quarter. Do you watch basketball?
Well, hold on, hold on.
Hold on, I gotta get this out real quick because what you said was incorrect. So do you
you
want?
said
Okay,
that if the bullet was to be, sorry.
just real quick, right? Because what you just said was incorrect. You said they have failed to. No, that's incorrect. This would be the equivalent. I'm not going to ask you the question because you didn't answer, so I'm just going to go with it. This would be the equivalent if the first quarter of a basketball game was complete and you say they failed to win. Everyone would be like, what the hell are you talking about? The game still has 3 quarters left. So no, they didn't fail to provide anything. And by the way, you don't even know that.
I won't say that they failed. They haven't yet.
Have we gone to trial?
Of course not.
So why would they?
I'm leaving open the possibility that Tyler Robinson was the shooter still. See, this is where I think
that's not your claim.
Well, then what is my claim?
Your claim was that, again, within a reasonable understanding, not just simply, I like to question things. Anyone can question whatever they want. But within a reasonable understanding, you said it's plausible for people to have the thought that he was either a patsy or part of this super duper hit squad. That was what you said. I want to know why you think it's plausible beyond lazy arguments and or evil ideology. That's what I'm asking. If you're over here just saying like, well, people can question whatever they want. Yeah, no shit. I don't think anyone said otherwise, other than these 1 or 2 Instagram comments that you read, I guess.
All right. Well, I'm not. So in my initial statement, I didn't claim in the affirmative that I am trying to prove that there is evidence that substantiates the theory of him being a patsy or broader involvement. I asserted that the current prosecution has failed to conclusively provide enough evidence to convince me and many other people that Robinson was in fact the shooter with a level of certainty that allows us to like discount the whatever theories may be out there.
And why are so far your arguments have all been things that aren't even just not weird, they're actually, excuse me, the majority. I explained that with communications. That's actually.
I think we can move on because I don't think that we're going to agree here because the one thing you're saying,
it just what you're saying logically doesn't make sense.
I would like to, because you said earlier that if the bullet was conclusively matched to the rifle, that it would reduce suspicion. So by that logic, suspicion exists still because the bullet wasn't conclusively matched to the rifle.
That wasn't your claim. Even your new claim that you kind of shifted, the last thing you just said 5 seconds ago, even that wasn't your claim. You didn't say suspicion exists. You said it exists to the point that you have not been able to, I don't even know, you keep kind of switching it a little bit. Nobody said suspicion doesn't exist.
A little weird. Like I said,
this doesn't logically make sense. Suspicion existing. Yeah, because we haven't. First off, Tyler Robinson could come out and literally say, on my firstborn son that's not even alive, I did it. And there would still be people that are suspicious. So if you're trying to, no offense, escape out of your claim and trying to get so vague because maybe this isn't going one way or the other that you wanted it to, by just getting so vague with this idea that it's like, well, suspicion still exists. Dude, suspicion will always exist. I promise you. He can be found guilty. There can be him going to the camera going, like, there could be everything in the world.
I understand what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So you're saying that essentially you're asking me to provide
evidence not proof.
Essentially, you want the percentage of suspicion. You want to be like, okay, what evidence is causing?
I'm not even asking. Honestly, my bar is so low right now. It's, to quote Maddie, it's in hell. Okay, that's where my bar is at right now. I'm not even asking for that. I'm just at this point. Sure, no problem. But at this point, all I'm asking for at this point is that with a reasonable understanding, not just I question everything because I'm a contrarian, just with a reasonable understanding how anything that you have brought up at this point or will bring up will somehow, again, not prove, but give us like a, you know what, I see why you have that understanding, right? Again, reasonable understanding. So far, nothing of what you said, maybe you're about to, but so far, nothing you've said makes me, and I'm trying my hardest to see it from even a Candace Owens point of view at this point, trying to see how that could make me go, okay, I can see why maybe people have this conspiracy or that. So far, nada. Not even a little bit.
Sure, that's your prerogative. So, okay. I'm trying to convince you. I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh, believe what you want to believe. So that's what I am here to do. I'm not trying to be bad faith here.
All right, what's your next one?
Yeah, we can move on to fingerprints, supporting evidence. Not the centerpiece, it's an element. So I'm referring here specifically to the latent prints recovered from the glass window near the area where investigators say the rooftop figure landed after coming off the building. 3 latent fingerprints on that window were suitable for comparison. The state examiner excluded Robinson from all 3, and subsequent FBI comparisons were inconclusive.
Why does that matter? Wait, which window are you talking about? The one that was below?
Yeah.
Why does
I
it
believe
matter?
so.
He didn't touch the window. He didn't touch the window. He put his palm on the roof. He put his foot down on the window, and he's wearing shoes. And then he jumped. He never touched his fingerprints onto the window, and we know that because they matched his palm print to that exact spot. And guess what? They found a perfect match. Tyler Robinson's palm
Are you
print.
talking about to the top of the roof?
Correct. He never touched the window, so why does it matter?
If you truly never touched the window, then
I'll look at the
I am under
video
a false-
one more time just to be safe.
Sure.
We'll pull it up right now because I looked at
And
it
I'm
to
going to
make.
concede that point immediately. If he didn't touch the window, then I'm going to concede that point immediately.
Okay, so here's the video right here. I'm just gonna look at it because it's blurry anyways. So he's climbing down right there. I know it's a little hard to see, but he's climbing down, and there's kind of like a lower ledge with the window, and then there's these lower windows down here, right? He puts his foot down onto the lower edge, right? So now this is at the point. This is the point where he drops. I think he drops his bag. Wait, hold on, let me see. Or no, he doesn't drop his bag. He just kind of lowers his bag. So he lowers his bag, right? And then he just jumps straight down. At no point does he touch any window. And then right here, he's...
I can see the point.
Okay, next one.
And the only reason why I included it is because the FBI felt that it was worth investigating.
Okay.
So at least for that reason.
I didn't even know they investigated that, just to be honest. So thank you for teaching me that. But my guess is, maybe just like, hey, we have to investigate everything. I'm not sure.
Sure. So that we can move on to the degradation of the prints. The trigger guard were swabbed together and contained DNA from at least 4 contributors. We all know this.
Who was the main contributor?
Robinson, right? But his DNA was also the most degraded, correct?
Wouldn't that make sense? He's the biggest contributor. He's putting the gun in his pants. He's moving around. He has a towel wrapped around. Wouldn't his be the most degraded?
If there's other DNA on the gun, why wouldn't that also be degraded by that same logic?
Yes, of course it would. But if his is the most, right? If he's the major contributor and his DNA is all over versus, let's say, Lance's... Well, Lance wasn't on the rifle at all. Lance was on the towel and the screwdriver. But let's say, hypothetically, person B is, let's say, 10%. I'm just throwing out rough numbers here. I don't know if they actually gave percentages. Let's say Tyler Robinson's 90%. This person's 5%. This person's 3%. This person's 2%, whatever. You got 2 to 5 people, depending on what they tested. Wouldn't his be the most degraded because he has the most spots to get degraded?
That doesn't automatically follow. Because I think
if I touch 90% of this paper, and
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, got it.
But you're saying that his, comparatively to the other prints, his was most degraded. So if there's other prints or other DNA on the gun that is less degraded, meaning more present.
It wasn't more present, but when you say comparatively, do you think, let's say there's only 2 people to make it easy math.
I'm asking a serious question.
Right, I got you. So let's just use 2 people for easy math. Let's say person A is 70% of the DNA, right? And person B is 30%, just hypothetically here. Are you saying that they take that into like in a, not per capita, but like how they do with per capita? Are you saying they take that into consideration and saying they're not raw number the same degraded, but they're degraded compared to how much they are part of the total rifle? Is that what you're saying?
Asking, not saying.
I don't think so. I'd have to look. I don't think I watched the preliminary. Obviously, I do have almost photographic memory, but it's not literally perfect.
I could have misunderstood, but that's the impression I was under, and I think that's the impression a lot of other people were under. I mean, I don't want to put words in Candace's mouth.
Why was Tyler Robinson's DNA the most degraded on the rifle? Just see if somebody's already answered this question. Okay, let's see. DNA sample identified as the major profile on the rifle's trigger and trigger guard show the highest level of degradation due to environmental exposure, such as, it wasn't even most degraded all throughout the rifle. It was only just that actually hurt your argument more, but that's only just the trigger and trigger guard. I actually didn't know that. I thought it was different parts as well. Such as ultraviolet rays and the outdoor conditions of the wooded area where the weapon was recovered. During the July 2026 preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson, who is accused of 2025 fatal shooting, doesn't matter. Environmental degradation, FBI DNA analyst Amanda Baker and other forensic experts testified that the rifle was left outdoors, wrapped in a towel. Yeah, I got that. The major profile impact. Here we go. The swab taken from the trigger and trigger guard was a complex mixture of at least 4 individuals. The major profile, which contained the largest, I was right, the largest quantity of DNA and was consistent with Robinson, therefore suffered the most significant degradation. Yeah, so because he was the largest quantity, that's why he suffered the biggest degradation.
So it was because he had more DNA on the gun,
Yes.
more of it was degraded because there was less of other people's DNA on the gun, is what you're saying.
That's how I just read it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what the defense challenge is. Defense challenges, Robinson's defense attorneys use this degradation to question the reliability of the forensic findings. They argue that because DNA was highly degraded and mixed with multiple contributors, analysts could not pinpoint exactly when the DNA was deposited or guarantee a zero error match with absolute certainty. I don't think
Right.
to argue against them, because that's just a ridiculous. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say it's ridiculous. It's their job. I get it. I'm not gonna fault them for doing their job, but the reason it's ridiculous is because no DNA is ever going to determine exactly that, like a timeline per se, right? So,
Yeah, and DNA does not scientifically prove that Robinson's DNA was older. I understand that.
right.
Um,
Why would he
but
be the number one contributor? What would be the reason? I guess the only other reason would be that he uses the gun the most, right?
right, but what I'm saying is that it shows a bigger picture that the forensic picture is more complicated than like the shorthand statement Robinson's DNA was on the gun.
Well, I think that would be the case for any shared gun. Let's remember, it's a family gun. It's his grandfather specifically. So that would be the
I mean, it's
case in.
being handled by other people.
Yes, of course. That's how their DNA got on it. What do you mean?
The timeline,
I'm sorry, what is your question?
the timeline. I think is relevant here, right?
Okay, but what's your question? I thought your question was, have we established that other people have handled that gun?
Right.
Yes, the answer would obviously be yes because their DNA was found on it.
Correct.
Right, but their
And so what
DNA
I'm
was
saying is
by
that
far the minority DNA.
right. Well, what I'm saying is it doesn't make it a clear cut. Oh, he like it's not like his DNA was the only DNA on the gun, or that his DNA was
So what?
strongest on the gun,
It was strongest on the gun by far. It's not even close, actually.
most present but most degraded. Right.
Again, most degraded doesn't. Let me ask you, how could it be the most present if it was most degraded?
Most present if it's most. One more time.
I agree with
Sorry,
you.
man.
Something can be most degraded and most present, but I'm not asking because I don't get the answer. I'm asking so I understand your understanding. How can something be most present but also most degraded?
There's more of his DNA, and of that DNA that was on the gun, it was the most degraded or eroded. It would be
Right.
like the
No, let's
yes.
stick with degraded. So the reason is because if let's say the most present is 90%, okay? And let's just say two people just to make the math very easy. Person number 2 is 10%. If person number 2, you wipe off 3% of their DNA, okay? Now they go from 10% to 7%, if you will. Again, this isn't how DNA works. I'm just trying to make it make sense to you. And then Tyler Robinson, person number A, who was 90%, let's say you wipe off 10%. So it goes from 90 to 80. That would be more degraded than person B, right? Because they only wiped off 3%. Yes?
Uh, I'll give you that. I'll go with your.
The answer is
Yeah.
yes, because one's 10%, one's 3%, 10 is higher than 3. Basic math here. But person A, in this case Tyler Robinson, would still be 80% of what is found on the. Also, let me ask you, if it really was degradation due to other reasons, then how come he wasn't the most degraded in any of the other parts they swabbed for? They didn't just swab the trigger and trigger guard. They swabbed the stock. They're all over. How come he wasn't most degraded there?
That's not what I'm trying to assert. I'm just saying that there was degradation of the prints. The degradation does provide room for skepticism. I understand the way that you're framing it makes more sense to me now.
It doesn't. It makes perfect sense because he was the most prominent DNA on it. So he would be
If
the
that's
most degraded.
the way that they did the analysis, then I would have to agree with what you're saying here.
That's what it says. I can look a little deeper into it. It comes from a report that says Tyler Robinson left big proof after killing Charlie Kirk, ? Forensic team, ... That's where it comes from.
Right. Okay.
Let me get even more specific. Yeah, but why would Tyler Robinson specifically be the most degraded versus others? Let's just get real challenge. I'm going to try to challenge my own claim to see what it says.
Right.
Forensic analysis did not state that Tyler Robinson's DNA was uniquely or biologically prone to breaking down faster than anyone else's. No shit. Instead, his defense attorneys highlighted the degradation. Yeah, we know. Come on. Give me the answer here. During the Utah 4th District Court preliminary hearings, the distinction between the DNA profiles, blah, 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 blah. When a weapon is left exposed to outdoor elements like UV rays and moisture, DNA degrades. The defense argued that if Robinson's DNA showed more significant degradation than others found on the weapon, his handling of the rifle, they are arguing, happened earlier. Okay. The alternate handler theory. So I guess they're trying to maybe argue because the second profile was Lance Twiggs, that maybe Lance Twiggs took the shot.
I wouldn't argue that.
Well, that's the only other option because that was the second DNA. So if it wasn't him, then it had to have been Robinson.
There was two other contributors, correct? Right?
Besides, well, okay. To be fair, it depends on what part of the rifle we're talking about. So yeah, you're right. There's some parts it goes, I think, up to 5, and some parts it's only 2.
Okay.
The prosecution stance, FBI analyst Amanda Baker testified that environmental exposure breaks down all surface DNA unevenly, depending on friction, sweat, volume, and shielding from the towel it was wrapped in. The prosecution maintained that the degradation did not prevent a secure statistical match. They presented evidence that Robinson's profile in the rifle was still at least 1 trillion times more likely to be his than someone else's. Meaning, if you took everyone in the entire world 10 times over, it would still be Tyler Robinson.
Yeah, I would never dispute that. I agree with that point.
Okay.
Okay.
This next point.
Next point, we can move on to it, and then you laughed at this earlier on, so I'd like to see where you go with this. And again, I'm here. I'm open-minded. You can convince me. And there's been several points you've made so far where I think you actually did a good job. The degradation, the way that you framed how they did the comparative analysis makes sense. If that's truly how they did it, I'm going to have to independently verify afterwards, but I believe you.
Same here. Same here. I want to look more into it. That's just me trying to get to balance speed and fact-checking at the same time.
Yeah, okay. So the operational reconstruction, rifle optic, and cold bore shot aspect. Yes. Okay. I am not arguing that Robinson was physically incapable of making this shot, but I am going to ask what verified evidence establishes Robinson's prior familiarity and proficiency with that specific rifle and optic.
Okay, well, one, there's testimony of people saying how much he loved to shoot guns and hunt, so we know he does know guns. As for why, I have to ask you, why do you think it even needs to establish some kind of professionalism? It's 140 yards with the scope. Why is that? I was in the military for 12 years. That's...
Yeah, but he wasn't.
Right. Let me finish. When people just get into boot camp, meaning beginner, no training, right? We will shoot from 150 yards with no scope. And most people, unless they really, really suck, are still going to generally hit their target. So why would you think a 140-yard shot with a scope would somehow be difficult, even if we assumed he didn't do hunting, which we know he did?
Well, one of the questions I had is that he would have to have zeroed in that rifle, knowing exactly where he was going to take that shot.
Why do you have to zero in? It's 140 yards.
Well, that's a good point. So from that distance, because you're the person with the I would say some level of expertise experience here.
I'll keep people. Yeah, U.S. Navy. And I was an expert marksman in both rifle and pistol. I literally got my expert marksman. And I was trained by Blackwater. But anyways, I will tell people, for those that don't understand why he brought up the word cold bore. So cold bore being the first shot after literally it's when it's at room temperature or outside temperature. And it is the hardest shot. Again, at 140 yards, it's not going to make that big of a difference. But let's say it was a 700-yard shot. Cold bore does make a big difference, and that's why snipers are specifically trained all the way to the point of their exact rifle's bore itself, how clean it is, everything, because that first shot, when it's cold, depending on, if there's stuff still left behind, you didn't clean your gun right, or even if it wasn't, right? It's going to be the hardest shot because it's always going to be a little off. That's like one of the biggest things snipers do train in. I wasn't a sniper, but I just know this because I know snipers. And then after that, it becomes what's known as a hot bore shot, or even warm bore, if you will, shot. It's a lot easier. And each shot, as you do the second, third, fourth shot, sooner or later, it gets to a point where you can just zero in and you can hit the same thing over and over, pending, wind changes and whatnot. The cold bore does make it slightly harder. But again, we're speaking of 140 yards here. This is something that I'd expect, unless you really, really suck with guns. I'd expect just about anyone to be able to hit that, to be honest.
Okay, so it may be true for like a competent shooter, but you're asserting that you don't have to be a competent shooter to make that shot?
No, you'd have to be...
Well, I would assert that there's people that would, with the same level of, let's say, experience or expertise that you have, that would argue in the opposite direction. I believe I forgot his name, it's a Navy SEAL.
Rob O'Neill?
I don't know, the ginger guy.
Rob O'Neill. Rob O'Neill never said that a 140-yard shot is difficult. If he did, it must have been in a different interview.
It was the interview that he was discussing specifically the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Yeah, he thinks there's an explosive. Listen, I'm friends with Rob O'Neill. I'm speaking with. I'm talking about
him alluding to the cold bore shot being difficult, and I know the video is there. I mean,
yes, a cold bore shot is more difficult than a hot one. That is true, but again, Just like, as I'm sure you understand, the further away you go, if you like were to move the gun 1 centimeter to the right, okay, and you shoot, the difference between a 140-yard shot will be significantly different than, let's say, a 1,000-yard shot, because naturally it's going to go more and more away from its target the further away you are, if you're off by even just 1 centimeter. However, again, 140 yards, not very much. I'm going to show you also this other article real quick. I know I have it because I saw it earlier. I just got to go through my history here. I know I have it. One sec. It's literally saw it earlier today or yesterday. Yeah, here it is. This is from New York Post. Charlie Kirk's accused assassin Tyler Robinson bragged about long-range shooting skills, says former coworker. Here's the article if you want to look it up on your own time. That's the title of it. I know it's backwards, but you're not looking. I don't know. Maybe you are. That article
Charlie
right
Kirk, you read that? Charlie Kirk accused assassin Tyler Robinson bragged about, what is this? Can you read the rest of it?
Bragged about long-range shooting skills, says his former coworker.
Okay, well, that's an what you want to call it?
Hearsay?
Yeah.
True. I guess we'd have to try to figure out why someone would lie about that. And also his family talked about hunting, and also they had hunting rifles, and we also have pictures of him and his brother shooting guns. So yeah, I guess it is hearsay, but it matches every piece of evidence we have.
Sure. And I think the way that this debate or this conversation has been leaning is towards like a broader conspiratorial, were there other people involved, right? I mean, that's kind of
I've been waiting for you to get to that. I'm still trying to figure out why other people were involved.
No, that's kind of where your counterpoints have been strong, is they kind of help. You've been making good points to rule that out in a way that I would submit are strong. But a lot of this stuff, for a lot of people, doesn't rule out the Patsy argument. And I know the Patsy argument is going to be difficult because
I think that one's even easier to I think that one's even easier to debunk, actually, because
that's surprising.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because if he is somebody that's part of this organization, this assassin organization, that's easier, because then he could still have done the shot in that exact same spot. It is his gun. It is his bullet. You don't have to debunk all of that. You just have to debunk the idea that he didn't do it exclusively, or he did it with like the Mossad, the French, the United States military, whatever. Now, that'd be weird for them to recruit a 23-year-old American, but whatever. That's actually still easy, because you don't have to deny that he took the shot. However, a patsy mean, I mean, you know what a patsy means. You'd have to try to figure out a way to convince me that somehow he was there on the campus that day on that roof, more or less. I get it. There's some argument, like so he's wearing sunglasses, but I'm just saying, like, generally speaking, you'd have to convince me how he did all this stuff without even fucking knowing he was doing it. That sounds way more difficult. What do you think about the exploding mic theory, by the way? I'm just curious.
So actually, I think that theory was interesting, but there's a reason why I didn't want to include that, is because there's just no evidence in the affirmative for it, really. But I did find one thing odd, was the mechanics of his shirt as he got shot. That was weird to me, because it looked like the shirt, like the air implosion, whatever you want to call it, the direction in which his air, like the shirt rolled in the opposite direction of the impact of the bullet, towards where the bullet hit. So the shirt.
I see what you're saying. You're saying it puffed up on the bottom.
Here. I'm sorry.
Saying it puffed up on the bottom first, or puffed up on the top first?
Yeah, it puffed up down here first, and then it rolled upwards here.
So
from what I remember,
my guess, and this is just based off my relative, I mean, more than the average American, but basic understanding of bullets, is bullets, as Andrew did say, people were laughing at him. I don't know why. He was literally correct. Bullets do displace air as they go forward, but behind the bullets, which Andrew didn't say, not because he was wrong, he just didn't happen to mention this on top of it, behind them, bullets pull air. And so my guess is that the speed of that and the tightness of his shirt, because he was wearing a relatively tight shirt, when the bullet goes in, sure, there's going to be a displacement of air, but there's going to be a larger, because once the bullet goes in, it creates a hole in the neck. So there's more pull at that moment of impact than there is push of air displacement. And so my guess is it pulls, because this is the closest part to the bullet, pulls this in, and then he does this, causing the shirt to do that, and then it flows up. I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just saying I'm good with science, and that's how I would consider that to maybe be the possibility. But I can't say for a fact that that's the reason.
Would you at least assert that the mechanics of this shirt did look a little weird?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because for it to look weird, I still have to have an understanding of why. And the only thing that would make sense, well, hold on. The only thing that would make sense if everything else lined up would be something inside blowing up, right? Exploding mic, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that's where you, not you, but y'all, as in people that believe it, will lose me. And I'll tell you why. One, and Candace said this, she believes it was patent explosives, which is, of course, the same thing Israel used on the exploding pager beeper operation that they did with Hezbollah. Now, here's why that makes no sense. Patent explosives burn at almost the surface of the sun temperature. It's like, it's very close. It's like 80% to 90% of the literal temperature of the surface of the sun. You want me, not you, Candace, whoever, wants me to believe that this explosion happened inside his shirt, pushing a projectile into his neck through the explosion, yet we didn't hear an explosion at all. There's plenty of mics. Not one explosion was heard from there. No fire, no smoke. The shirt, so his neck gets, blown a hole in, but his shirt, not even a stitch gets removed. If an explosion happens under your shirt, first off, what the fuck is his shirt made out of? Why wouldn't it at minimum burn, if not blow open? It's an explosion. That's where it loses me.
I want you to argue that there is some, you could engineer this away if you really wanted to.
No, you cannot.
So you're telling me that if you really wanted to, you couldn't engineer a casing around.
Not with patent explosives. No, not even. Nope. Not even. No. Trust me, I'm literally an engineer. And also, we know that's not the case, at least with Candace Owens, because Candace Owens said that she got exclusive photos inside of the SUV, and she said if you look on the ground, there's pieces of the mic on the ground. So she acknowledges, if the mic theory is true, that the mic exploded into multiple pieces. Explosions, all explosions, I don't care if it's patent or something else, are omnidirectional. So if you don't engineer it to withstand in a direction that explosion, and the mic does explode into pieces like she asserts, then that means the explosion will go, including into the shirt. So no, there is no fucking way you can engineer that. And even if you engineered it to the point that, let's say you make the mic so strong that it can withhold an explosion, except for just like a little hole at the top that pushes the projectile, his shirt was this tight. So if the mic's under, it still would have hit this part of the shirt at bare minimum. And so you would still see smoke. You would still see a flashing light.
I don't recall his shirt being that tight.
I'll show you right now. I'll show you right now. Tight enough for a projectile? Yeah.
You could put 2 fingers right there. But that's bizarre.
No. Well, first off, 2 fingers is still too small for a projectile, but especially since he was leaning forward, which means he's leaning into the shirt. So no, well,
if he was leaning forward, wouldn't the shirt be a little looser in the front?
I'll show you the photo right now, Charlie.
When I'm leaning forward right now, there is, without me having to do anything, there is a hole.
I'll show you. I'll just show you right now. I promise you.
I'm willing to look at it. That's totally fine. Like I said, I'm not here to try to argue stubbornly until, I'm willing to change my mind. So,
trying to find the video and pause it to where we don't have to see that awful video.
Yeah, that was just terrible thing. I think we can all agree on that.
I just want to make it. Okay, I think this is the closest we'll get. I just want to make it clear, right? So you can see the shirt, right, is right up on his neck. That's right before the shot actually happens. Well, let me get literally right before.
Well, it does look like there is a bit of a what you would call like half cylinder that is being created by the mic, correct?
Okay, so here's the problem, right? If you were, which we can't even say because Candace Owens says that the mic, and all the people with the mic theory says that the mic exploded. So it's already moot.
Well, I'm not going to go with patent either way.
No, I know, but let's say even if it wasn't patent, it doesn't matter. All explosives are omnidirectional. Even if let's say, what about a gun?
Gunfire, and you can correct me if I'm saying something stupid here. I could be.
What's your question?
What about a gun? Isn't that a controlled explosion in one direction?
Yes, that's why you have an entire bore that's like this long to this long, right? A mic at very most, you're going to have it about that long.
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate here. So
right, so yeah, if a bore was only that long and you shot a gun, same thing. You're going to see it shoot out. Right, the explosion. Right, that's why they make it so long. So yeah, that's kind of the point. So even if somehow they made the mic, let's pretend Candace is wrong. She didn't mean to say that the mic actually does explode. It stays intact because they made it out of a material that can withhold the pressure of an explosion, except for the top that shoots the projectile up. You would still have, because of the short bore, like you're saying with the gun, it would be so short that you would see, at minimum, you see a burn mark on the shirt, something, right? There's nothing. His shirt's completely fine.
Mm, I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I wouldn't really know. I think I would have to yield to you on this,
I
but
think
I'm
it's
sure I
just
could.
common sense.
No, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's common sense because I mean, I guess you could say it's common sense, and then you would have to assert
Okay, let me
that.
give
I
you
mean,
one more common sense. Okay, you agree that
yeah.
he at the last second just kind of leans forward a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Okay, would you agree that the people, let's say it was the government, whatever, this assassin squad, do you agree they would not be able to know if he's going to lean forward or not? Right? They're not going to know that. Is that fair? I'm sorry, what?
Of course. Yeah, of course not.
Right. Him leaning forward. So the mic's right here. Let's just, I know it's outside the shirt, but let's say this is the mic and this is shooting up. When I lean forward, if I'm Charlie Kirk, it's going to actually put the projectile in my neck, right? Whereas if I'm sitting up, it probably will go more like right here in my chin, right?
No. Well,
Okay.
mm, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Okay. How would, if this assassin squad, if their whole point was to use this explosion to shoot him in the neck, okay, but they're going to tell the world, oh, it was actually this Tyler Robinson guy with a 30-06, Mauser rifle that shot him. If he was sitting up straight like he does 95% of the time and it hits him in the chin, how would they have sold the story that a bullet goes from the roof and curves up and hits his chin like that?
Right. 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 No, I agree with you
Okay,
there. I
so
agree with you there.
that's why the explosion, my
Look,
theory, if anything else that I said, but that's also why it's stupid.
okay, I can concede that point. I think the way that you framed it makes sense. One of the things I would want
It
to talk
also would
about
not
when
hit
I
his
talk,
spine, just FYI. Even if he did lean forward in his shot, that doesn't
did
explain
you
how it
ever
hit his spine.
establish whether or not it was a soft point or a hard point 30-06?
Definitely soft point. I don't know what you mean by hard point. You mean FMJ, Full Metal Jacket?
FMJ, yeah, not a soft point.
And
Full
100%
metal
is a
jacket.
soft point. The only thing that I think is still contested if
Has that
it's
been
a.
confirmed? I don't know. I'm asking.
I'm sorry, what?
Has that been confirmed or I don't know? I'm asking you.
I think it has. I mean, I'm telling you it is because I saw the bullet, but let me see. Has it been confirmed that the 30-06 cartridge that Tyler Robinson allegedly shot is a soft point?
I don't think it has, to be fair.
I mean, it has because I saw the bullet. Yeah, it says it has been confirmed.
It has?
Yeah, it's actually not only that they did confirm because I was gonna say it looks like 150 grain, but it says it's detailed as 150 grain Remington core lock soft point round.
Okay, well, do you know when they confirmed that? Because the last time that I checked, maybe it was earlier.
It
That hadn't been.
just said during the July 2026 preliminary hearings for Tyler Robinson, forensic and ballistic testimony detailed that the ammunition was what I just said. So it was during the
Okay.
preliminary. I mean, also you can just look at it, dude. It's a soft point. An FMJ doesn't
Right, I
have
never
that.
saw the bullets. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's pictures
Okay.
of it online if you want to go look. But yeah, which by the way, that's the whole point of a soft point is specifically to mushroom when it hits and fragment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that. A couple of the things that I wanted to touch on too, and like I said, and I kind of even told you during the DMs that I'm going to give you gotcha opportunities, and that's totally fine. Because, I mean, am I allowed to? No, I'm not going to swear here, but I was going to ask if I'm allowed to. I don't really care.
Yeah, you can swear.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit. I'm here to learn. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was why did they fucking repave over that crime scene when it's not protocol? Why didn't they use a chemical cleaning agent? Why didn't pressure washer? Like that's from what I understood from my research. It's not protocol to repave over a crime scene that way. All of
Well,
the shootings I've ever
it
seen.
wasn't a crime scene. The crime scene was already released, so it wasn't a crime scene. And
Well,
also,
the area where he was shot is what I'm referring to.
yeah, but
That
okay, let's just think about this logically. Do you
Sure.
agree that nobody, whether you're Candace Owens, Nick Matau, Andrew Wilson, Jason, nobody disagrees with Charlie Kirk being shot in that position, right? There's no conspiracy that's like, actually, Charlie Kirk was somewhere else, right? Like, we all agree he got shot in the position he got shot in, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
He got hit.
where would the majority, as in like 95% of the investigation lead you to you're a detective, you get to the crime scene, sure. The guy shot there, you see blood on the grass, the ground, right? But where's going to be the majority of the evidence? Like, where are you going to really look to determine what actually happened? You're not going to look right there. Where are you going to look?
Directly beneath him and then behind him where the bullet would have landed
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
was
absolutely.
brutal.
Yeah, totally fair. So you're gonna look kind of behind. I'm not saying don't look at the scene at all. I'm just saying you're gonna see the blood. Yeah, you're right. Maybe the detective doesn't know yet because they haven't said, hey, that there was no exit wound. You're right. He's gonna look behind. He's gonna try to figure that out. They're gonna send people out. I think it was released like 5 days later, give or take. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, they're having days, and I'm sure they're doing an incredibly good job. The UVU, they closed the campus down for those days, right? So they're like full access. I'm sure they were maybe not literally 24/7, but they're looking, right? But the majority of the evidence, other than what you just said, which I'll 100% agree with you on that, behind him, the spot, maybe also what was left behind because people ran, they just want to see stuff, right? That's when they said that they found like a gun holster that they didn't actually end up like checking in, which I can get to that in a second, but neither here nor there for now. The majority of it's going to be on the roof. That's where the casing is. That's where maybe the rifle is. It wasn't. It was in the wooded area, but that's like all of the evidence you're looking for is not going to be right there. So sure, was it aesthetically correct to maybe pave over it quickly? Probably not. I'm sure that was the crime scene's release. They looked at everything. They took every picture. They collected every item, right? And then either released or didn't release. So at that point, they went to UVU and said, hey, we're done. We have everything we need. And we even have pictures if we need to look back. We're done. So UVU probably was like, this was very traumatic. We need to just pave over this right now. We need to get it cleared. Is that aesthetically pleasing or not? Or sorry, not pleasing, like correct? Maybe not. Maybe they could have waited longer. But this idea that saying it's a crime scene is incorrect. It's not a crime scene.
It doesn't. I mean, that's irrelevant to me. It's the site where he was killed.
What more could they have found? What more do you need?
I'm sorry.
Like what more do you need? Like why keep it labeled as a crime scene? Like why after let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I don't know how long you think they should have done it. They have everything. They've documented everything. Go ahead.
How long after did they pave over the
like I said, area? I think it was 5 days, maybe 4, maybe 6, but I think it was plus or minus 5 days.
5, I believe.
Right. So I'm saying, what more did the detectives, the police, the FBI, whoever, what more did they need?
What do you mean? What more did they need? I'm not saying they needed anything more. I'm saying why did they choose to repave over the entire scene rather than just clean it? Which is because like, they don't. It's not protocol for them. From my independent research, it's not protocol for them to repave over.
I don't know what protocol is for the Utah.
Right now. The answer I got was it's not protocol.
Okay, hold on one sec. Let me look up one thing real quick because I don't actually remember now that I'm thinking about it. Death scene images. Yeah, so he's on grass.
It's not protocol.
How did they? When you say clean it, how can they clean it? He was on grass. How do you clean grass of blood?
Clean glass of blood. I was under the. So here, let's look at the actual. Can you pull up a photo of where his stand was?
Yeah, I just did. That's what I was saying. He's on grass.
Okay, gotcha. And so they repaved that. They repaved over the grass essentially, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I think that's what he did. I haven't seen the new repave scene. UVU repaved Charlie Kirk scene.
Okay, I'd be interested to see what parts and sections that they repaved over. For me, it was just I think this is where a lot of people,
they just put new grass down. That's what they did.
They put only new grass down. There was no repavement.
I'm still looking, but that's what this says. It says they're putting. I know it's hard to read. I'll just read it. They're replacing the grass where Charlie Kirk was speaking with pavers.
Okay, well, it's my understanding that they repaved some portions of that area.
Well, I guess. Hold on. Actually, I never actually looked into this.
Bringing this up is because that is in a lot of people's minds.
Oh shit! I was confused too. Actually, I thought repaved meant concrete, but it doesn't necessarily mean concrete actually. But it generally means concrete, asphalt, drive. Yeah, I'm actually confused. I don't know. Does anyone have any like new images? Let me see. Charlie Kirk's scene after it was repaved. I actually never looked at it, to be honest with you. Never actually thought about it.
Yeah, so if we can look at that, that would be interesting because I think that's one element about this case that a lot of people are confused about. Because when they hear repave, it sounds weird because so this is anecdotal. I grew up and kind of for a portion of my life in a spotty area, and whenever there was an incident of a shooting, there was no repaving going on of anything. It was essentially the same every time. It's just a cleaning job.
Well, technically, if repave, by repave, they just meant like, putting new grass. That would be a cleaning job because you can't scrub grass. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, of course. If that's what happened, then I agree. But yeah, then I think it's just confusing in general.
I'm actually kind of glad you asked this because I think everyone's just accepted that people have kind of said this, but now that I'm looking at it, I can't find anything that says it was repaved.
I'll look it up as well.
Has anyone seen it? Like, has anyone in the comments, like, has anyone seen, like, I'm not gonna lie, everyone said it so much that I just took them for their word. I thought repaved was concrete. I'm gonna go take a piss. I'll be right back. Somebody try to help me with that.
Yeah, it says yes, a portion of the courtyard where Kirk was killed was physically altered shortly. Okay. Specifically, the grass area where Kirk's tent table had been set up was removed and replaced with hardscape. Okay. Okay, so reported that the construction crews replaced the grassy area with concrete slab, while Reuters photographed workers on September 15th, 2025, installing concrete pavers where grass had been removed. Within days of the assassination, UVU removed the grass from the immediate event area and replaced part of it with concrete pavers. Okay.
Okay. You find pictures?
No pictures, but it did say that. So here, I'll just read it to you. Yes, a portion of the courtyard where Kirk was killed was physically altered shortly after. Doesn't mean paved. Specifically, the grass area where Kirk's tent table had been set up was removed and replaced with hardscape.
I know Sam Parker. Yeah, look, this is a video that was taken by a Candace fan the other day, like literally a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. And it's a video, but I just paused. As you can tell, there's still grass right there. Supposedly he's standing, or his fan is standing right where Charlie Kirk's tent was. And you can see it's very clearly grass. And then he like zooms in. I think he zooms into where the shot came from and blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Actually, huh. Somebody, you know what? There was a video somebody made. Hold on. There's a video somebody made that someone actually went to the campus and did the entire walkthrough. So let's, but I think he did the walkthrough where Tyler Robinson was. Maybe he shows it, and that would have been after the repaving.
Question.
Tyler Robinson entire walkthrough video. What's up?
Have you, and this is not me asserting like this is like, oh, evidence here, but I'm curious, what do you make of that video that was circulating around where essentially it was like some Iranian dude that was kind of like blurred out and voice altered, essentially saying that they had hacked into either the US or Israeli, I forgot which one.
It's gonna stop you right there. Anything that Iran says is that should be taken.
Okay, well, that we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. I mean, I think
agree to disagree. You think an Iranian person who's at war with the United States?
That's arguing from authority, though, is it not?
That's not arguing from authority. That's not what that means.
Inverse arguing from authority. It's essentially saying that because X person said the sky is blue, but he's.
Oh, you want me to debate it? Okay, fine. Did he release his findings?
No, I'm asking what you made of that video.
Did he release the findings in that video? Or did he just make a claim? Did he make a claim or did he release proof?
He made a claim.
There you go. So why wouldn't somebody who has the proof not just release the proof?
Because it was correlated to the repaving theory.
Right.
I'm asking what you made of it.
If he doesn't release any proof, then I don't particularly care, even if it goes in my direction. If there's some what?
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, I agree. I agree. I just thought it was interesting.
Why is it interesting? A guy comes out and says, "Trust me, bro, that's interesting."
Because it took two different theories that, I mean, I would agree are weak, and then combine them together in a way that made sense. And I think that a lot of people that don't have that, I guess,
here it is,
that aren't going to have this discussion.
Here's the guy that said he retraced all of Tyler. It's a 11-minute video, so I'm going to skip ahead to see if I can find it. But supposedly he literally like retraced the steps of Tyler Robinson. So I'm going to skip to where he's on the roof and maybe he like shows it. This would have been this would have been like 5 to 10 days after they repaved it. So he's getting to the building where he's walking up on top, where Tyler Robinson would have walked up on. He's showing out in the parking lot. And I don't think he shows it. Hold on me. Come on, bro. Just fucking... Oh, he can't go over to where Tyler Robinson is. He blocks it off. Okay, so this video is not going to help us anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, that video I did show you was new, and it looked like it was grass to me.
Okay.
I'd have to do more research into this. Either way, I don't think it really matters in the sense like, yeah, probably, let's say it's not protocol. Okay, fine. They probably shouldn't have done that. I don't think it proves anything, or not even proves. I don't even think it's evidence for anything. But I'll do more research to see like exactly what they, because now I'm just curious. What did they repave actually? What does that even
Yeah, they
mean?
said the section that his tent was on, they replaced it with hardscape, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's not concrete. It's like hardscape is that I'll just look it up. I think it's, if I'm correct, I think it's that what's it called? That's like that stuff that's like there could be concrete slabs or something. I'm not sure. Hold on, let me see. What is hardscape? Hardscape refer stupid ads. Hardscape refers to solid materials. It could be for outdoor, or sorry, that are used in designing outdoor spaces. It could be natural stone, tile, brick, wood, asphalt, concrete pavers. It's each of these products may be constructed for different things like driveways, walkways, patios. Yeah, okay. I'm not really sure. I have to look. I'd have to see a picture. I'm so surprised how nobody has a picture of. Why is it so fucking hard to find a picture? Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk death scene today after it's been repaved. Like, why has nobody just gone there and just like looked at a picture? Does anyone send me one? All right, you know what? I'm just gonna take that as homework. I'm just gonna do, even for my own purpose. I'm actually kind of curious. I want to know what it looks like now. Do you have any other claims that are weird?
Not necessarily claims, but I would say that I still believe you definitely did a great job at reducing my level of suspicion given the points that we covered, because some of the stuff that you kind of explained makes sense to me a little better now. Um, so I would say I will concede you did decrease my suspicion significantly. One of the things that it still kind of smells a little bit weird to me is it from what I understand, he started to shift on his positions with Israel prior to his assassination. Is that accurate?
I don't think there's anything that says that at all.
From what I understand, he started to. I mean, I think that. So didn't Candace Owens bring up something, some like piece of evidence?
Yeah, she brought up a
And
text
then
where he got into, without any context, by the way. We don't know what he said before. We don't know what he said. Hold on one sec. Yes, I'm going on New Mingle after this, you guys. Um, yeah, she brought up a text message that I guess was sent her by, well, actually, it was sent by Andrew Colvet to, I think, the government. My suspicion is Joe Kemp, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. The text message was without any context. We don't know what was said before. We don't know what was said after. I can promise you, if you guys look through my text messages, when I'm mad at somebody or something or whatever, probably a lot different the next day, but I'm not here to speculate. Text message didn't necessarily say specifically about how his feelings towards Israel. What he said was there was a Jewish donor that was upset with him. I assume it was because of maybe Tucker Carlson or something. I don't remember if it even said, but nonetheless, and they pulled funding, which donors are allowed to do. Jew, Goy, doesn't matter. Everyone's allowed to do that. That's what donors do. And he was getting upset.
going against the war with Iran.
No, I don't think that's what it was about. I'm almost positive it was either about, I think it was about Tucker Carlson, because he says after, like, I'm thinking of bringing Candace Owens on. So obviously the original wouldn't have been about that. Anyways, and he says that the way that some of these Jewish people are acting, right, and attacking him and his character, which, by the way, I don't agree with, but, you know, again, that's how people are. That's not just a Jewish thing. It's forcing him to lead the pro-Israel cause. It's not the same thing as his feelings about Israel, because Charlie's feelings about Israel came from a biblical perspective. Now, one thing that was interesting that I looked into, even though I don't like Candace, I don't agree with her, I didn't agree with her, but it was interesting, was she came out and said, well, Charlie was actually a Catholic, or he was very much becoming a Catholic, and he had a Catholic burial. And I'm saying it like that because that's what she says it, burial, or however she says it. And she said that he was in a Catholic cemetery. And I actually looked into that because I was just like, well, that might change some things, because maybe if his biblical, if his denomination changes, maybe that would change how he feels about how he's always argued about the Bible, especially when it comes to Israel. But then it turns out that was all bullshit. You know who debunked it? Candace Owens herself, because many months later, she randomly comes out and says, I think that maybe he was cremated, and I want to know if he was cremated. And even her own side was like, wait, you said he, not kind of, not maybe, not your source says. She said he was buried in a Catholic funeral in a Catholic church or all that. And now she's saying, I think maybe he was cremated. And everyone was like, wait a minute, you said he was buried in a Catholic funeral. What's going on here? So I looked into that, and then she herself was the one that ended up debunking herself because she can't keep up with her lies. So yeah, even the last day he died, literally the day he died, he said, "I'm a proud evangelical Christian." So I'm sure he was feeling pressured about continuing to talk about Israel. And we do have videos of him saying, "I don't like talking about it. I'd rather talk about other things." But unfortunately, like, it's the news and the topic, and even I kind of feel that way. I'm somebody who's very, very big on defending Israel. I really wish Israel was treated like any other country, and most people just didn't give a shit. If that happened, maybe one day I will stop talking about it. But until I find it to be used as a crux to push evil, I'm going to continue to talk about it. So yeah, that's how I read it.
One of the connections a lot of people draw is Kirk did express sentiments against going to war with Iran before he died.
That's true. But he also expressed sentiments that he trusts his friend, President Trump, no matter what, including with the Iran war. But yeah, that's okay.
Sure.
I'm against some things with the Iran war. Like, if Trump were to... Go ahead.
Would it be fair to say that if he hadn't been assassinated and he kept going in the direction that he was going, there was a reasonably high chance to expect he could have ran for office and won?
Well, he was only 31, I believe, correct?
Yeah, not now, obviously. I mean, in the future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, yeah, and he was obviously politically inclined. Seemed like he was in that kind of aisle.
Yeah, no,
right?
I would have voted for him. Again, assuming everything else changed. Yeah, no, 100% for sure.
As well, but I think there's one connection that people make is, he starts to express sentiments against going to war with Iran. Obviously, we know that is something that is kind of counter to Israel's interests at the moment. And then he gets assassinated, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not drawing the connection there myself, but what I'm saying is that other people draw that connection, and then what I'm saying is that people will think back to events like JFK, and they're like, "Oh, well, there's the chance that he was a patsy, or that Robinson was a patsy, that they feared." And this is me arguing devil's advocate. This is not particularly strong. This is why I didn't bring this up in my original thesis or anything like that. He essentially could have been a threat to Israeli interests in the far future if he had continued to go down the particular direction that he was going in terms of his views. And let's say, theoretically speaking, some people would say, he could have been a threat to the future of Israel's, existence in some manner by, some, you know what I mean?
I don't understand why that even comes close to matter. By that logic, the Kremlin killed him then, by that logic. Or well, even though he was against more and more funding, which I am too, to an extent, maybe not the same as Charlie was with Ukraine. I don't think he was pro-Russia. I'm trying to figure out even if we, let's say, worst case scenario, he just completely abandons. Maybe he's not anti-Israel, because I don't think he would be with his religious beliefs, but he's like, you know what, I'm done defending the country. I don't even want to fucking talk about that anymore. Let's just say hypothetically he even goes that direction. I don't see how that. What are you trying to connect that to? I'm a little confused. It sounds like you almost want to make a theory, but you don't want to say it.
Well, I'm saying that I've heard this theory before. I've heard this, which is that, look, he was.
Hey, you have to connect it, though. You have to connect it. You can't.
Right. But let me lay it out here. I'm not personally making this connection. I'm saying that this is the kind of sentiment that people hold that gives them that patsy. That gives strength to the patsy theory in their mind. And so what I'm saying is that opposes war with Iran, gets assassinated. Therefore, that was because there could have been some future threat to Israel's
What did Charlie say when we entered the war with Iran? Not this February 28th one after he was dead. I'm talking about Midnight Hammer. What did Charlie say? Did he come out and go
prior to him expressing?
No. When we went into we entered the conflict before Charlie died, right? With Operation Midnight Hammer, right? With the B-2 bombers, right? Did Charlie come out and go "I love you, Trump, but this is wrong. This is messed up. We shouldn't have done this. Israel, what the heck?" What did he say?
I'm not gonna be able to answer that.
Yeah, no, Charlie came out and he said, "Look, I've advocated against this a lot, but I have a lot of Persian friends and I really want Persia to be free. And I trust my friend Donald Trump, and we got to give him some leeway because he's done a lot of things that maybe we don't always agree with. But, and I'm paraphrasing Charlie for the most part, but I'm getting it pretty much right. Right? We have to give him some credit because he's done a lot of things that ends up working out in the end. So even though he said, yeah, I don't want to go to war with Iran, I trust my friend Donald Trump. So I don't think, let's go with this theory, like, well, he was against the war in Iran, so maybe Israel didn't like that. Let's just go with this theory. He wasn't some hardliner where something he did that he, or some, sorry, if Trump did something he didn't like, he was just like this all in, like problem. He was somebody that understood that he's not always going to see eye to eye with every single person. And he made that very clear when we entered into the war, arguably with Iran the first time before he died.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, I mean, I guess I see what your point is. Can I just ask you, what do you think was the motive? I mean, behind Tyler Robinson's killing of Kirk?
We can just listen to his motive. He saw him as a fascist, and he saw him as a problem. And yes, it was political. I know this because Tyler Robinson said it.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll submit that you did do a good job at reducing significantly the level of suspicion I have surrounding those particular points that I brought up. I wouldn't call it like 100%. Obviously, that would be stupid. That would be just as dumb as, you know, what you said earlier, which is the 0% theory. 100% theory is equally as dumb.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that I would say is there is precedent for people who are politically outspoken and kinetic speakers being assassinated, especially if they go against foreign interests. The argument could be made that Charlie Kirk wasn't necessarily the type of person that was, let's say, conducive to everyone's interests. And so the Patsy theory, you know, it does still have some kind of plausibility, but I'll concede you did do a good job at reducing my skepticism.
Mashallah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate anyone that steps to the debate scene. So thank you so much, and I hope it was fun.
So, I mean, this is like first time ever. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I hope it was fun for you.
Yeah. Well, how did I do? I mean,
well, you kept your composure, which is something that a lot of people seem to not be able to do in today's day and age. So good job with that. Yeah, I would say that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you giving me the time to at least, you know, express my opinions. I respect the fact that you did respond to my comment and give me the opportunity to come on here live. And, you know, I think that the people who are on the far extreme side, like I said earlier, the Owens, I think that if they listen carefully, they're going to have to reduce their suspicion as well, at least a little bit, because I think a lot of the points you broke down were clarifying in a way that aren't really mainstream.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. I think you're right. I do have a way of doing that. To be honest, it's kind of, I think
that's why I follow you, by the way.
Yeah, I think people. I don't think that I do. Like, to me, I'm just speaking my mind, but I get told enough that I have to believe it sooner or later that I do have a way of thinking of things that for some reason, I guess some people, don't. I don't know. Whatever. Guess we'll figure it out.
And it'll be interesting what happens once, like, you know, the actual verdict comes out and all the evidence is presented, like, you know, in the final decision. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Again, unless something really, really, really changes something or blows things sideways, Tyler Robinson will be found guilty.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Nick.
Peace out. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good one.